Hey, it's August 25th, 2020. It's a Tuesday. That means it's time for the Giant Bombcast. I'm Brad Shoemaker, along with the Bay Area posse representing Jan Ochoa, Ben Pack.
Hi.
You're still
What's up?
You're here. You made
Brad, can I expense a triangle
Sure.
to play? Okay. All right. You said it. I'm going to do it.
Okay.
Why a triangle?
I don't know. I feel like it'd be neat for the Bombcast. Ben, you get a xylophone.
I mean, I want a xylophone. I just don't understand the what is it like a dinner time sort of like
ring the
means
bell
it's
and
Bombcast
like play
time?
the jingle like they did in like
I
school
could do
PA
the
stuff.
I could do the news theme on a xylophone.
I mean,
Yeah.
special guest Alex Navarro here from New York City, ready to... Okay, just do it. Just do it.
Whoa!
Sounds so bad. In
Now
the
the
mic.
podcast. Now the
You just
podcast.
had that.
Alex, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I figured I should just destroy the recording in everyone's ears right out of the gate.
Let me just check the waveform here. Oh, yep, those are some good peaks.
Yep. That will be the last one for this podcast.
All right, everyone, get your cowbell out and go to time.is. We're gonna start this podcast.
Man, I wish I had my own cowbell. Where do you get a cowbell? Like, when you buy a cowbell, is it just an agricultural cowbell, or do they market like musical
Oh, no.
cowbells?
They absolutely have percussionist cowbell.
Okay.
That is a percussionist cowbell that is designed for me and my ilk.
Okay. So you're not going down to like the cattle trading center or whatever.
No. I mean, I'm sure you could get one there, but these are the cowbells that don't have the little like bell ringy thing on the inside.
Okay.
So that's kind of the key difference there. You kind of don't want one of those when you're hitting it with a stick.
Sure.
No, you want one of those if you have a cow.
Yes.
Yes.
You need to
Okay.
make sure it doesn't get lost.
Okay.
Don't have a cow, man.
Yes. I'll try.
That's great
Okay.
advice.
I
Yeah,
have no
just in
space
general.
for one.
Yes. You need the acoustically optimized sort of cowbell, I suppose.
I just got a message from Jitsi that says my microphone appears to be noisy. Weird.
okay.
Wonder how that happened.
It's probably fine. We'll just soldier through it. Alex, thank you for being here. Jeff and Jason are on assignment. Ben and Jan, I feel compelled to just ask real quick, how's your fire life going?
Ben, it looked pretty hairy for you, didn't it?
I mean,
Ben
here,
was,
hold on.
I'm a little...
Man on the scene.
I wasn't.
Ben Pack.
I wasn't really sure Ben was going to make it today because it seemed
Out
like
the window. Still pretty smoky out there. Probably not picking up too well.
Doesn't
but
really play on camera, but
Yeah,
I respect
man.
it.
Everything's on fire here.
And now Ben
It's
Pack
the
with
third largest fire in the history of California,
Ben Pack
Oh,
with
that's-
your local on the 8s.
and the evacuation zone is currently about 5 miles away from me.
Yeah, yesterday it really sounded like you were on the bubble about whether you were going to have to flee your home or not.
Yeah. It's still, it's not more contained than it was, but it's not less contained than it was.
Okay.
Okay, it is the exact same level of out of control.
So
Yes, and it's spreading south, which is terrible for the people to the south,
Yeah,
of course.
yes.
But seems to be like, I'm going to be okay. It was funny, we were complaining about the heat for the last couple of weeks, and I would see all these comments like, why don't you get just like a nice little air conditioned unit? It's only like a couple $100. It just sits in your window. You just open up your window, you sit it in there. Motherfuckers, I haven't been able to open my window for like 5 days
oh my god,
straight.
it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's been 90 plus degrees in this house
Yeah.
every day with
Yep.
just all the fans on, blowing nothing around
Yep.
but the stale air that's in here.
Yep. I still have not vacuumed up all the ash that blew in here last week when it first started. I still need to pull some like couches out from the wall and really get back there.
It
Yeah,
looked like
there's-
it was snowing.
Yeah.
That was the level of ash that was falling.
Yeah, there's like a paste on my car now because I didn't clear the first round of ash, and then like there was a little bit of moisture. Now there's more ash,
Mhm.
so there's like a thick layer of protective gunk on my car now.
Yeah,
It's great.
Good. It'll keep the bugs off.
Have you guys
attach
gotten
them
as,
more.
as acquainted with the AQI, the air quality index, as I
Yeah.
have? Like airnow.gov, y'all. I've got a bookmark. We were
Look at my
in
air now.
we were in the green for the first time last night, briefly. But
Yeah,
we're-
it's nice. The weather or the wind will sometimes kind of blow all of the smoke out. And then you can like open up for 40 minutes.
Yes.
Okay, we're sitting at 150. It's kind of
Yeah,
right
we're-
between orange and red. Not
We're
good.
at we're at 135 right now. It really swings up and down from day to night.
I got to tell you guys, I am not. I mean, granted, I'm on the other side of the country now, and I feel for you guys, but I am just personally very much not into this new, now yearly and increasingly lengthy tradition of worrying about all of my friends and family who are all pretty much in the zone.
Yeah.
I'm not used to having multiple reasons to wish I had a box of N95 masks. You know,
Even one is too many, honestly.
yeah. I remember
We
when
have
they
the
were-
one. We got one 2 years ago,
Yeah.
which was the first big fire.
Was that from the office? They were, back when those things were plentiful. Our company was straight up handing those out at the front desk when we had to commute. But
Yeah. And now it's not so much.
Yeah.
Apparently though, like there's also all sorts of like, if you wear that out and you have COVID concerns, you should actually cover. There's a little valve on the front, and you have to like make sure that is covered, or else you're taking in the potential. It's just
You got to double up.
yeah,
there's just a lot going on right
Yes,
now,
it is.
folks.
Yeah,
it has
maybe too much.
been a
Arguably
lot-
too much.
Been a lot out here. Yes, condolences to everybody who was affected by this stuff, even worse than we are. Alex, I just have to ask real quick. I know we talked about it, I think, on Friday on the hotspot.
Yeah.
Have you had any updated check-ins on Jake the Snake?
My understanding is that all is well over there. I mean, our air quality issues aside, Petaluma is not really in like the immediate danger zone of any of the current fires. So my parents, while ready to go, have not had to vacate at this time. Therefore, Jake is still snug in his terrarium, and they have not left him behind.
Okay, that's good to know. That makes me feel just a little bit better.
Yeah.
I packed my first bug out bag.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Ooh. What's in there? What's in your bug out bag?
We just used a pretty basic standard. There's like a wildfire rescue plan thing that kind of lists everything you should have. Where we kind of freestyled was the food. I was just like, well, I'm pretty sure we'll be good if I just grab like 8 cans of beans and this loaf of bread.
Okay. just a good old bean sandwich. Keep it going.
Yeah, well, you could have it. You could have it a lot of ways. You could have beans and toast. You could have toast and beans. You could have a bean sandwich.
This is the same stuff you had in your bag before the fire.
That's true. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
he
just
had
That's
normal.
true. I always keep that MF thing on me.
just stacks of cans of beans on his desk.
Well, there's Ben. He's got those beans again. Always with the beans. I'm
like-
always saying this.
More like bean pack.
I'm not even eating them. I'm just kind of carrying them around. Like,
know?
hey, I got the beans.
You know, it's protein, it's fiber, it's, ready to go.
Thinking about those beans.
That's right. All right. Let's get down to business here. There's the game that I feel that we should talk about, which is Madden, and then there's the game that I would rather hear about, which is Rogue Legacy 2.
I think start with what you would rather talk about.
I would rather hear about Rogue Legacy 2. Let's talk about that.
All right.
Rogue Legacy
we
2 is out. It's got a whole new cast. It's got the Buccaneers. It's got the Washington football team. It's the truck stick is back.
The story mode back in this year. Career mode.
No, Jan, you've been playing Rogue Legacy. I've been playing Rogue Legacy. And Jan and I have come to the conclusion that either Rogue Legacy 2 is really hard or we're extremely bad at it.
And the counter argument to that is Ben is well documented as being good at video games. So I'm falling to the conclusion that it's really, really hard.
Like significantly harder than the first one. Like the first one was like a hard game, but not insurmountably so.
I remember the first game being really hard to beat.
Yeah.
Like, having a really good run was difficult. Like getting through some of the harder bosses was difficult. I haven't even made it to a boss yet. I've put only 4 to 5 hours in it because I was having some trouble syncing the controller. And playing that game on mouse and keyboard was hard with like the dashing and everything. There were just too many buttons. But now that I've got it working, it's a motherfucker of a game. You get hit like twice and you get knocked around. So it's a long time since I played the first one, so people will have to correct me if these aren't new. But one of the big new things I've noticed in this game, and I mean they tutorialize it right out the gate, is like if you get hit, you can hit a button. I think it's the jump button right after you get hit in the air to kind of do like a little recovery roll in air to kind of like pop out of getting just knocked around too much.
That sounds new, yeah.
The problem is I've often will do that and then just like hit a spike wall that's above me or something.
Right.
Is that just a position recovery, not a health recovery? Like you're just kind of righting yourself to
It
land?
allows you to attack again.
Okay.
Or another new thing in this game, the other kind of like main new feature is there's like kind of a downward aerial slash that you can use to bounce off of enemies, off of like lamps or furniture and stuff like that. I think Jan, you said it reminded you of the messenger thing last week.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it is very similar to that. So if you're playing right, like you're fighting an enemy, you get hit, you can kind of use that aerial recovery to position yourself like above the enemy, do the downward swipe again to kind of give yourself some more space from them, and then decide where you're going to land after that. But
yeah, I definitely feel a little bit more of a glass cannon in this game versus the first. And it's been a while since I've touched Rogue Legacy 1. But I just feel very vulnerable, not even depending on whatever class I'm playing as. Ben, are you picking up any of the newer classes? At least I think the Archer is new. I believe the Archer is new.
Yeah, the Archer's pretty fun. Like you said, though, like in a game where getting hit is so detrimental to your health. That's most video games.
What have they done?
I've opted towards playing the Barbarian a lot just because he's a little tankier. You've got that yell special move that's kind of a really good like get off me AoE attack. Yeah, it is quite difficult. Other than those two new things, it really feels like Rogue Legacy 2.
Like
it really feels like a sequel to it.
I assume like same basic progression of kind of big tower of upgrades that you hit between generations and.
Yep, and then you're going in there. You've got like a blacksmith where you can unlock new weapons. You've got a an enchantress which will give you new spells. There are I forget what they're called, but it's like the equivalent of, remember in the first game you had another slot for like you can dash or you can fly or there's that, and to actually unlock those you have to do a trial based around those, and those are all the same. It'll be like kind of a progression. So the first one you encounter, or at least the first one I encountered, is the dash trial, and it's a very fun actual like way to tutorialize the dash, because it'll put you in like a combat scenario where you have to dash away from an enemy and then re-engage, but then it'll also put you in a platforming section to be like, here's how to use the dash to jump, here's how to use the dash with your downward sweep attack, so you can kind of like staircase around with no enemies.
Do they give you a lot of those all those kind of like devilish sort of like
the fairy chests?
A lot of them were like sort of like partially
no
puzzle
jumping.
Some of them were puzzle based, some of them were platforming based, some of them were combat, some of them were kind of a weird mixture of but in some like pretty clever ways, right? Like some of those challenge rooms in the first game were like pretty fucked up. Like, do they kind of do a lot of that stuff again?
Oh yeah. I've run into instances where defeat all the enemies, but the enemies aren't actual mobs, it's like targets, and on top of that there's like a bunch of floating obstacles that'll take off some bits of health, and that'll qualify as like, don't get hit, also kill all the enemies to get the fairy chest. And I've encountered like at least one every single run, just like you would in the first game.
How are the genetic traits? Like, is it a lot of like wildly new stuff?
There's a decent amount of new stuff.
I'm just guessing, but that seems like the kind of thing that they would iterate on in an early access phase. Like, it's like, oh, we launched with 20 genetic traits or whatever, and we're going to add another 50, or you know what I mean? Like that's the kind of thing they could easily add more of down the line, I'm sure.
Yeah. Right off the bat, the like new ones, definitely new ones, is like Diva, where you kind of have a spotlight shining on you and everything else is grayed out. They have some old favorites. They got the IBS back. Everyone's favorite is Don't Worry.
Yep. Everybody loves a good farting video game character.
Nostalgia, where everything's black and white. Yeah. There's also like one of the skill tree upgrades. So that was the thing with the first game, is there were some traits that were just straight up negative. You like never wanted those traits. Yeah. This one, there seems to be a skill tree upgrade to have negative traits make you earn more gold.
Okay.
So it seems like they're interested in adding a way to kind of make that risk reward rather than just straight up like, well, I guess I'm not choosing this character because it has this class.
That's cool. That's a good idea.
That sounds cool. I definitely got to play more. Yeah. It's still early access. They've still got quite a bit to add, like based on their roadmap and stuff. But
do you know if the whole game is there? Like, can it be finished yet? Or
I don't know.
Okay.
I haven't even gotten to my first boss.
Yeah.
Ben, do you remember there being warp portals in the first Rogue Legacy? Okay, that wasn't a new thing then.
They were typically like near the entrance of each of the biomes, so you could like, if you wanted to do a run where you fought all 4 bosses, you could kind of warp around. It's funny to me, like I was playing this and I was like, yeah, this really feels just like, you know, another Rogue Legacy. They haven't like they tightened up a few things, but they really haven't super iterated on a lot of stuff. And so I was like, it's kind of fucked up that Rogue Legacy 2 might out. It's another one of those. It might be out Spelunky. It's another one of those because that's coming out in a couple of weeks.
God,
and that right. Spelunky 2 is very much a game that looks like it's another Spelunky. It's just interesting that we have both of these kind of back to back.
I have to count the days. Hang on. Let's see.
It's like 2 weeks, right?
About right? September 11th, I want to say, or 4th.
3 weeks, I think.
3 weeks.
Okay. Yeah, 3 weeks from now. God, that's pretty soon.
Yeah.
That being said, this game, for looking as much as it does the original one, it like adds like a different depth of combining like 3D animation in like the form of 2D side scrolling, where it just looks really good though.
Does it still control just as well as like kind of? I mean, like I remember Rogue Legacy having like a very specific feel to the movement. Like you kind of, it's hard to characterize. You almost like glide around, you know, like the back and forth movement is like so smooth and like you're like kind of quick off the starting line. Does it still feel like that?
It still felt like that to me. Yeah, I think I wound up missing like the roll that you'd get in a Dead Cells. I wish I had that, and I feel like the game would be like near. I feel like it'd be better at the game if there was a dodge type of roll versus just jumping to avoid stuff.
Sure. Yeah. That sounds cool.
Yeah, it's neat. Early access. Also, it's like right on the front page when you fire up the game. Their next planned update is like 20 or so days.
Oh, cool. The chat said that it's basically like a biome and a half right now. It's like one full biome, and then there's like you can get into the next one, but it's not fully implemented yet. Is this what I'm getting from this? So, yeah, that sounds.
So
cool.
We almost finished it, Ben.
Yeah, great. All right.
Yeah,
you can do
Maybe
it.
we're good at it.
Oh yeah.
All right, Alex.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready? Are you ready for some football?
I mean, in real life, absolutely not.
Have you been ready for some football?
No, I am not ready for football at all. I don't want there to be football this year. I don't feel like the NFL is going to handle this shit well at one bit.
What is the plan? Have they said?
I don't think they're doing a bubble. Like, I don't think they're doing like the NBA NHL thing, which, boy, that just seems like it's going to lead to a million different disasters. But also, I think even in a bubble scenario, there's too many people on a football team. Like, there's just too many people to have in that space.
What do you mean by bubble? By bubble, do you mean like that kind of permanent period of isolation where like they're not allowed to interact with the outside world at all?
Yeah.
So people that are exposing yourselves to each other can only interact with each other for the next 6 months.
Exactly. So the NBA has a space in Florida, and since they started back up, they've had 0 positive tests. And the NHL has basically been in the same boat. They've had 2 spaces, one in Calgary, one in Toronto, I think. And as far as I know, no players from there have tested positive. Meanwhile, Major League Baseball has done none of the bubble stuff, and half their teams can't even play games because they keep having positive tests.
They did absolutely nothing at all. Give them less credit. They didn't even try.
To give you an idea of how fucked this baseball season is, the Padres are doing well. That's how topsy-turvy and broken everything is. So there you go.
Are they having these players like live under a freaking dome? Like, how are they enforcing this?
In the NBA, they are.
Yeah.
They're all confined. The NBA and the WNBA are confined to 2 separate hotels.
Wow.
And like they're giving them meals like they're like
they look like
college
the Fire
students.
Fest meals.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw. Okay.
Except like LeBron James flew out his personal chef, and so he's like making him sushi rolls and shit.
Okay, I'm sure that guy's stoked to be there for like 4 months.
I saw some photos of some sad meals going around on Twitter, and I was wondering what that was
The
about.
WNBA ones are even worse. If you want to see some bad fucking food, look at the WNBA bubble meals.
These are athletes, man. You have to fuel them. That's not...
What's wild though is that there's some like legitimately both the WNBA and the NBA, and honestly the NHL too, like some of the best play I have seen in like, you know, season and postseason play in years. Like just the no traveling aspect of it, I think, is actually having that impact on the sports in that they don't have to go far to play these games or to train or anything. So they're like well rested and in good shape. Granted, they're isolated from the rest of the world. That part's not ideal, but they're playing well. So that's fun and maybe still not actually worth the expense, but you know, it's something to watch, which I think Americans are desperate for right now.
Yeah.
The NFL, they're going to fuck it up. I just know they are.
Oh yeah.
Should I just assume that the new Madden does not have a bubble management mode?
Oh Lord, no. That would be something interesting, which Madden has not done in some time. So no, there's none of that.
All right. Is it
Madden
is there,
this year?
What is there to say about Madden?
All right. So look, Madden's been bad for a while, and it's not that this year's game is that much worse than I would say like the last few have been. And there are a couple of things about it that I actually kind of like. Some of the gameplay changes they've made this year, I think, are decent. Like defensive line play feels better. Some of the tweaks they've made there. It's easier for mobile quarterbacks to do things like escape sacks and throw while being sacked and things like that, which makes sense because Lamar Jackson is the cover athlete and he is well known for his escapability.
I thought it was Pete Mahomes.
No, Mahomes was last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this year it's Lamar Jackson.
Patrick Mahomes, sorry.
Yeah. And so those things are neat, but like they aren't necessarily like game changing. You know, they're just like, oh, this stuff plays a little bit better. It feels all right. But everything else around the edges, and this again, it's not unique to this game. It's kind of the way Madden has been for the last few years, but it all feels rickety as shit. Like there are aspects of the simulation engine and the AI that just seem straight up broken. Like I've had it. I mean, there's the commentary, which is always broken and it will constantly read the wrong thing for the situation that's taking place. But like, there are situations where I've been playing in franchise mode and, you know, I'm doing like the 20-minute experience version of the game, which is like you play the big plays, you play the big, you know, game changing scenarios. And then like a punt will come up and it just straight up says, oh, the other team's fake punting. Like, why would you tell the player that? What circumstances does it make sense to clue the player in that the other team is fake punting?
Maybe you're just role playing some sort of super quarterback with eagle ears and
I'm living Spygate through the game. But it's just it's bizarre shit like that where like simulations and aspects of the game will just come across totally broken.
That seems like a bad place to be at the end of a hardware generation. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but the kind of impression I always had of like Madden and these other sports franchises is it's like, you know, new consoles come out, it's like, oh, we got to rip out a bunch of features and rebuild our tech and kind of get going on new platforms again, slowly build up again over the course of the generation and kind of get to a place of stability. But like, what are we doing here if this is like the last Madden on these 7-year-old consoles and they still don't have it?
I mean, I'm not going to say there hasn't been any good Madden this generation because there have been Madden games that I enjoyed. I wouldn't necessarily say there's been a really great one at all during this generation, but there have been some solid enough ones. But this generation has been poor for generally speaking for the entire Madden franchise. And I think for EA Sports in general, like FIFA has done well, but it's not necessarily because the games have been spectacular the whole way through. It's because they figured out how to make $1 billion a year on Ultimate Team. You know, like they figured out how to squeeze money out of Europe. And that is why FIFA is doing well. And they've tried to do that with Madden. Literally, the first thing the game dumps you into is Ultimate Team shit as soon as you get in. And that's not new, but like it's clear where they want to be funneling you so they can make more money. But like, it's just even the Ultimate Team stuff feels kind of broken because the menus are sluggish as shit. Every time you jump into a new challenge, there's these load times. Even on the 1X, it's just like, it's not snappy at all. Like it feels like you're trudging through sludge to get through to each new thing in that mode. And then, you know, they're still doing stuff like the story mode, which I swear to God, I think must have just been a curse because they got it right the first time they tried doing like a real narrative story mode thing in that game, which was like 3 or 4 years ago. And, you know, someone said, oh man, we could do like Friday Night Lights shit every single year. And then like the monkey's paw curled. And then suddenly they're trying to do that over and over again with progressively worse results every year. The one this year is some shit, man. Like I'm only into the college element of the story, but the high school stuff sets up basically you transfer to a high school, there's a star quarterback already there, and then you find out he has a heart condition and you narc him out to the coach.
What?
Okay.
And like, granted, he's not well, and he's probably going to try and play when he should not be. But like, the game frames it as like, oh, well, you saved this player from himself. Now you're the star, and it's like,
That's
Two
how that
birds,
works.
one stone. There you go.
what are you doing? Why would anyone want this? Like, that's not like a fun, or even like a particularly good dramatic sports story. That's just like, oh, this is awful.
If it somehow like pivoted to where he gets picked up by another team and you're suddenly playing against him and you make his heart explode, that might be a little more engaging.
I mean, at least be inventive.
Yeah.
Or maybe he falls while he's playing and then he passes you the ball and now you're the quarterback.
There you go. Well,
He takes off his jersey.
what they actually do is that he comes back and agrees to play wide receiver because you've taken over the team, and then you become this sort of like frenemy pairing.
Wait, he
that goes
does
to
come
college.
back?
He does come back. He
Isn't
goes
the
to
whole point of having him get off the team is because he's going to make his heart explode?
I don't know, but like, so he comes back and then he decides he's going to go to the same college as you, and you have this like rivalry where he's trying to get the quarterback job back, but you're also friends, kind of. It's nonsensical. The whole thing feels very nonsensical, and it just feels like they had one good idea for one of these modes, and then every year they've tried to recreate it, it has just gotten worse.
Has anybody tried since Spike Lee putting like a known creative behind one of these story modes?
Not to that level.
Okay.
And I think the Spike Lee thing, while legendary for some reasons, is maybe more of a cautionary tale than anything else.
Okay.
Because people do not reflect back on that mode in a particularly positive light. More of a, I can't believe they got away with doing this kind of way.
Remember that ghost?
Yeah, remember that ghost giving you a fucking monologue at the
Right.
end, like he was reading a high school morality stage play. Ugh. And then the other thing they added in Madden this year is this thing called the Yard, which is essentially there's 6-on-6 street football, but it's not street. It's just like smaller fields and like low crowds, and it's supposed to be like the freewheeling, fun, non-simulation football, but it's still in the Madden engine, and they haven't really done anything to amp it up in any meaningful way other than there's fewer rules and fewer plays to choose from. And so it just ends up feeling like a very flat version of NFL Street.
Is Adam Sandler in the yard mode?
Tragically, no.
Damn it.
That's the longest yard.
What about Burt Reynolds?
Look, if they want to resurrect Burt Reynolds from the dead, I would be totally in favor of it, but I feel like that's probably not going to happen.
Oh, that's just depressing.
Yeah,
Burt Reynolds
it's
lived out his final years like right down the road from my parents.
really.
Actually, yeah.
I
didn't know
Burt
he was
Reynolds
dead. I didn't know he was dead either. I feel bad.
Did
now.
I dream that up? He did.
No, he's dead.
He passed away, right? Okay.
He died like a year or two ago.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think.
okay. I was gonna say I can't keep track
Anyway.
of anything anymore.
So, look, I still got more Madden to play, but I can tell you right now, if you were looking for this one to be the one that finally turns things around for this franchise, it absolutely does not. If you were in it just for the roster updates, you're going to buy this damn thing anyway. Just know what you're getting yourself into. You're playing roughly the same game you've been playing for the last few years with a few new bells and whistles that aren't really that great.
Not meaningfully improved though.
No, not really.
Have we? I'm sure we've discussed this on this very podcast, but do you remember what the kind of next gen upgrade path is for this?
I don't know if
Or have
EA
they-
has
have
said
they said?
specifically what they're doing. I know that it was 2K had the NBA thing, which is the extra $10, which they have
Yes.
since come back and said that is not necessarily their policy going forward on everything. We're just trying it. We're just doing it. Please don't hate us.
Oh, I just pulled it up. You do get a free upgrade
Okay,
for Madden.
good.
Oh,
I'm glad they're at least doing that.
Yes. So there's something there.
Yeah,
All right.
but you're still playing Madden is the
Yes.
problem.
Turns out none of us were ready for any football,
No.
I suppose.
It is, I will say, it was very funny the first time I booted up the game and it just said Washington Football Team and it had the NFL logo instead of any actual logo.
Wow.
And that still just really makes me, like, when I'm scrolling through the favorites, it's like, would you like your favorite team to be football team?
Yes.
No, which, by the way, no, absolutely not. But also, that's hilarious.
I have to assume if and when that gets resolved, they will patch that stuff in, right? Like they will update that. Also,
I don't think they're.
Is
I don't
there
think they're going to do it this year.
is there-
I think that's the thing is that like
is there no roadmap for determining a new name?
the roadmap is so they said that they're working on it, and I think a lot of this comes down to like what can they get the trademark for, which I think there was a couple of things that they were kicking around that maybe they no longer had the trademark, like they had trademarked it years and years ago but let it lapse or whatever. But yeah, I think the statement was there will not be a new name this year.
Wow.
Like maybe if somehow they make it the playoffs, which that's not happening. One, because that team is terrible, and two, also there's not going to be playoffs. They're just going to cancel the NFL season halfway through. I guarantee it. You heard it here first. But yeah, I think they're just going to wait and then reset next year because they peeled that name off so late into like the getting ready for the season cycle that I think they just did not want to pick something that they were going to be immediately miserable with, which obviously they should have maybe just done that considering they've had a miserable name for decades and decades. But yeah, they're just like, we're not rushing this.
Yeah. Do you know where all like I've seen some names floating around? Do you have any idea where that stuff's coming from? Are those just suggestions people are making up, or is there any basis
I think some of that stuff was stuff that maybe they held the trademarks for at one time or another. Some of it stuff that maybe like people had pitched. I know one of them was the Washington Warriors, and I think that one was being camped on by like a trademark troll or something, so like who wanted to get paid. So I think maybe that one's not going to happen.
I felt like I saw like Timberwolves or something along those lines out there at some point, but maybe Well,
if they take the Timberwolves and for themselves, the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to be very unhappy.
I misremembered.
Well, that's a basketball team, so they could do it technically, but still.
So were the Warriors for that matter.
Yeah.
I want a Washington football jersey.
Yes. All right. Well, there's
but don't give Dan Snyder money.
Yeah, don't give Dan Snyder.
Okay.
There's your annual Madden update. Somewhere Dave in Alaska sheds a single tear.
He'll be the number one player again.
And then gets way into Ultimate Team anyway.
Yep.
All right. Well, from one football game to another, what's up with Spiritfarer?
Oh yeah, boy, that talk about diametrically opposed games. I will say I like Spiritfarer.
Okay, well that's a start.
I talked about this game a little bit on the Beastcast last week. I've played some more of it. It's a really cozy game about being the figure that ushers souls into death.
Okay.
You are
like River
you are
Styx
you are
kind of
essentially
thing?
the new Charon. Like you are the ferryman. You bring people to to their final resting place. You're kind of guiding this boat around this I don't know, I would describe it as sort of like a series of islands, like kind of like a grouping of like small islands and places where people just kind of hang out, and you're building up your boat as you go. Like I at this point I have a kitchen, I have like a field I can use to plant foods. I have like a guest house that like spirits can hang out in.
To be clear, this game's fully 2D, right?
Yes, it is. It is all like hand-drawn, like kind of art style and 2D art. There's some light platforming and other challenges in there, but for the most part, you're just kind of steering your ship around and going from place to place and interacting with people. And it's just a very pleasant game. Like the whole vibe of it is, for a game about death, it's just very much like, yeah, I mean, look, we all end up here. We all got jobs to do. We all got things to do. Let's just, try and make it as nice for each other as possible. And like, that's maybe very welcome to me right now.
Sure.
Yeah, this looks real neat. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember when this got announced. I think it was a few months ago was it a Nintendo Direct?
A Nindies?
It might have been a Nindy thing.
It was something of that nature, some kind of, or a state of play or something like that. I remember it making kind of an impression just from the look of it and the kind of chill, placid vibes and stuff. I just wasn't expecting it to be a management sim from that. But that's exactly how people are making it sound, right?
Yeah. It totally is. And but the management aspects of that game, I would not call particularly intense or complicated. Like, at least from what I've played so far, it seems like a lot of it is just like, you'll they kind of shuttle you toward early on some ways that you will get the resources you need to build specific things on the ship. Maybe it opens up more as I go deeper into it. But for the most part, it's been very much like, hey, you go here, and then when you do this thing here, oh, by the way, you got this stuff, so now you can do this. So It feels like a long tutorial, but also at the same time, it's not boring. Like, there's enough game going on that it doesn't feel like it's just hand-holding you the whole way. But also, it's not a complicated game. Like, it's just nice, it's pleasant, and the art is actually really nice. Like the animation is very smooth, and like the character art is just really good.
I think we could all use a little more pleasant these days.
Well, it's on Game Pass if you want to try it out.
All right, I might have to check that out. People in the chat are reminding me that it was Microsoft's E3 conference last year.
Okay.
In fact, it was directly after the Keanu Reeves appearance. Maybe is why it's seared into everyone's memory.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
That's good placement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Certainly. It's breathtaking.
But that has kind of been my go-to comfort game in between Animal Crossing sessions, which I'm still playing.
Are you still playing?
Me too.
Still playing Animal Crossing? Really?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I play not every day, but pretty close to it. I usually do my daily errands.
Okay.
Yeah, same here. You know, like check in on the island, see if there's something going on, like a meteor shower or what have you. You know, how's your villager rotation? Are you happy with your current crew? You're looking to make some swaps.
I've been very happy with the group so I will say my girlfriend Sam is the one who is absolutely spearheading the projects for everything related to our island. And so she has been the one that like went out and got like ID3 tags from fucking Etsy to make sure she got certain villagers to come to town.
Oh no, is she chasing dreamies?
Yeah, a little bit, but so like she only bought 3 of them.
Do y'all have Raymond?
We do not have Raymond. Raymond is one of the new ones, isn't he? So
Raymond
I think
disturbs me.
Wait,
so
am
you
I mixing,
can't.
Oh wait, am I mixing? Is Raymond not
He's the cat.
Yeah,
he
Raymond,
is the cat.
Yeah, Raymond's the cat that everybody wants, right?
He is, but he's new
Cat.
for this game, and so you can't get those tags for new villagers. It's only for ones that have existed in the other games.
Okay.
But yeah, so we don't have Raymond, but we have very great. I love our cadre of animal people. Kurlos is my favorite. He is a smug sheep, and he is adorable. We have Rold the penguin, who is great. We have Nana, who's a little pink monkey. She's delightful. I'm very happy with our roster. I think Sam is getting a little stir crazy with some of the people that we have, and she's like, "What if we got rid of this one? What if we got rid of this one and got someone else?" And I'm like, I am very low key Animal Crossing vibes. I'm not big on pushing stuff. I'm not big on like I took a while to build out my house, and I just want to go at my own pace. I'm not trying to push anything forward. I'm not stressing the island rating or anything like that. Whereas she is like, yeah, but here's the thing. I'm very bored with this villager and I'm very bored with this villager. So here's who I want to do. I'm going to get these 2 people and then I want to put them together and I want to set up this thing between their houses so that they have like a little area next to them. They fit together. It makes sense. It's very elaborate and I respect it. I believe in it, but it's not me. It's not the way I play.
You know what? Just sit back and...
I hear you talking shit about me. It's not elaborate.
Hey, play however you want. It's cool. We're not here to judge.
I can hear you in this house.
Okay. I wasn't talking shit.
Talking shit about me.
Oh boy.
Also, I want new villagers because most of the ones I've maxed out and I have their photo already.
Oh well, that's important. Yeah, once you get the photo, then you
true.
kick them to the curb unless they're Rodney.
They've peaked at that point. There's nowhere to go.
Yep.
Anywho, the well-known villager ceiling. Is there anything new going on in that game? Like, have they had new events lately?
What was the most recent one? The fireworks.
Yeah, the fireworks.
We happen to have it on for the fireworks. That was cool, but not.
It was cool seeing the custom designs go up. Like I saw actually like a giant bomb fan do the logo, which was pretty cool. Seeing that in Animal Crossing was neat. Yeah. All the like shitty ones I did of our dog to try and make for our flag. I like seeing them in big fireworks.
We had a dick butt in our fireworks setting. That was very good, very elaborate, very well detailed.
That'll happen.
I think my favorite one we had was the Sunfly karaoke mascot, the weird little singing.
Oh, I love that
dragonfly guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's like the events are cool and like the special stuff is fine, but like I just like the day-to-day toil in that game because I don't know, like Animal Crossing is in its own way like an idealized version of life where just like hey, the resources you need to make money are there. No one's hassling you. No one's pressuring you to do anything. And that is a vibe that I could definitely use this year.
I hate to say it, but like as much as I enjoyed kind of gaming the whole turnip thing, it also just completely broke the game for me. Like as soon as I amassed more turnips than I possibly knew what to do with, and immediately stopped playing.
Well,
I have never bought a turnip.
I haven't bought a
Or-
turnip in months.
Yeah.
I still have like 3 million bells in the bank, but I'm still the chase for me isn't about the bells anymore. It's just about like filling out the catalog. We hit max fossils yesterday. We got our final fossil, not yesterday, but like a couple days ago. A little disappointed that Blathers didn't make a bigger deal about it. He was really just like, cool, you got them all. I'm like, motherfucker, we've been here for months, spending hours a day looking for your goddamn fossils, and you can't even like pat me on the back, but whatever.
Yeah. My
Celeste is way cooler than Blathers anyway.
Oh, totally.
My poor girlfriend has mostly dropped that game since the Joy-Con started developing drift.
Oh,
I think
no.
She feels very guilty about it.
It's hard.
It's the way of life. It happens.
There's so much
I just replaced
precision
them.
Yeah.
placements you have to do that, like if you just tilt a little bit, all of a sudden you're dropping something and then you have to pick it back up. You have to
Ours got bad enough at one point that like Sam set down the Switch and then her character walked from one end of the island to the other,
Nice.
mostly unimpeded. So I went ahead and replaced those Joy-Cons.
Yeah, I should probably do that.
I've been playing with the Deus Ex Machina, whatever that game was called, the like Namco custom, like they've got like triggers for macros and shit. I'm playing Animal Crossing with these like $50 single game peripherals.
They make a Switch Elite controller now?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yep. What else we got going on here? Ben, you played some Outriders. Can we talk about that? Is that embargo?
I had my first ever virtual game demo played through Parsec, which was really cool. But it was I played some of People Can Fly's next game.
Outriders. I just googled this. I didn't realize Square Enix is putting this out.
Yeah, Square Enix is publishing it. It is very much a modern video game. It is a class-based shooter with loot, and different abilities for your classes. They have, it's pretty cool class names here: the Devastator, the Pyromancer, the Trickster, and the Techromancer. We were all playing as Techromancers. I gotta say, like before playing this, I looked at it and I'm like, okay, yeah, it kind of looks like Destiny or what have you.
Yeah, actually, now looking at this, some of these armor sets are pretty Destiny.
It plays a lot more right out the gate. I had a lot of fun with it. Yeah, I had way more fun than I thought I was going to have with it. It reminds me a lot, actually, of the Division. Division 2 specifically. Cool. I mean, that's the one I played the most.
So like very third person, like over the shoulder shooting focused.
Third person over the shoulder shooting focused. Cover plays a big part, like flanking your enemies. You can't it's not about like zipping around like in Destiny, kind of jumping around, getting an angle, taking on some guys, somebody's like rushing in. It is very much a kind of like, so the big climactic battle we had was kind of like a big like trench style war. And it was very much, it was a really solid representation of that kind of combat in a game, because like we would advance on the enemy and then like we'd take a few guys out and then we'd try to advance more, but then they would have a horde that was pushing us back. So we had to kind of fall back and like use cover smartly. I was playing with two other press people. It's squads of 3. That seems to be the max. But like it's really about like smartly gaining ground and using your abilities to cover each other. So the classes we were playing was the Techromancer, which is all about like deployable turrets and status effects and stuff. One cool thing about Outriders is like healing is pretty much all done through doing damage. Like some guns straight up have lifesteal, but also anytime you kill an enemy, you're getting some health back. So it's not like, you don't have to hunker down and wait for somebody to use their heal ability on you. There are healing abilities and stuff like that, but it seemed to be very focused on like keeping you shooting. Like you're moving, you're shooting, you're going from cover point to cover point, you're using your abilities. Really, really in-depth gun customization and stuff. Like you could break down weapons, and every weapon had like a trait highlighted like attack speed or lifesteal or elemental damage or stuff like that. And when you broke that weapon down, you got, instead of just generic weapon parts, you got like points from whatever that breakdown was, and then you can feed that into another gun. So you can like, if you want to break down, you're like, oh, my gun could use some lifesteal. I'm going to break down another gun that has good lifesteal that I don't use so much and feed it into this.
Oh, that's cool. So you're like preserving the perks, like the random perks that are on stuff. That's cool.
Well, there's not only are there those stats, but there are also just straight up random perks, which kind of, it seems like it does the Destiny thing of the weapon stuff is all kind of weapon-based abilities, like fire damage will be amplified or whatever. And then the armor stuff is like for your active skills, like, you know, your AoE turrets will do 25% more damage or whatever. So you can kind of mix and match weapon gear and armor and stuff. Really good enemy variety. You know, it had us fighting like that trench style thing was very much like against other humanoid characters. There were lots of really wild beasts and birds and lizards and all sorts of stuff. Story, we didn't see a ton of story, but there were cutscenes. Fully voiced. The gear shows up on your character. Your whole squad is there, and they're in their gear, which is cool. Like, but everyone's point of view has their character speaking. So it really, I feel like that's going to definitely be a game that you're going to want to play co-op. Cool. I don't know anything about playing it solo. They didn't really talk about that much. But yeah, it just the stuff it did best was it felt like it was constantly challenging me to play smart. It wasn't the enemies are bullet spongy in that Division 2 sort of way, where like you're gonna really unload into them. Just like you're gonna either need to have all people focusing on the same targets, or like you're gonna spend a lot of resources on them. But then also like forcing you to move around. You know, Division also did that really well, where they'd have the enemies start flanking you and kind of force you out with grenades and stuff. A lot of like charging melee enemies to get in there. Huge weapon variety, like machine guns, sniper rifles, shotguns, lots of types of rifles. It seems just like a really, really solid take on that kind of already established genre.
That sounds cool. Like, yeah, like Division, but more kind of fantasy sci-fi. Sounds like something I could totally get into.
And that's a studio I would totally buy that from.
Yeah,
like I feel like they have the pedigree to pull something like that off.
They know how to make good action games for sure. Did you get any sense of what the mission structure is like? Are you like loading in and out of missions from like a menu, or is it more open world?
There is like so there's kind of an overworld with different locations you can travel to and from, and each of those locations is going to have like your main quest, but then also like 2 or 3 side quests that you can I mean, we might have missed a couple, but it seemed like there were kind of at least 2 per location. We took some footage. We're going to cut that together and record something over it.
I would like to see what that looks like. This sounds not that I like had low expectations for it or something, but this sounds God, my Jitsi window is acting super crazy. This sounds way more promising than I would have expected.
I feel like what they had shown up to this point of that game was not necessarily super impressive. Like, I can't remember much of anything about the early presentations for that game. I remember like that big video they did where like they had the studio talking about the game a lot, but they didn't really show much of anything in it. So I feel like it was just a big question mark for me, like what that thing even was.
Yeah. That sounds cool.
Yeah, it definitely feels like one of those games that until you get your hands on it and play it for a little bit, and even like it definitely took some getting used to. Like you'd run out of ammo super fast, and so we were kind of always running around like, why are we totally out of ammo? But like every combat area has like 1 or 2 ammo chests that you can just go up and refill at any time. But we like had to get used to that, and so like I could totally see this game as something that somebody would look at, be like, yeah, it looks kind of like a generic shooter. But then once you kind of start pitting yourself against the systems, it was really fun.
That sounds cool. I did not realize that is a this year game as of right now, which feels like those are in short supply at this point. Like,
is it really?
According to some of these.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like it's coming to PS4 and PS5.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of like holiday 2020, Q4 2020. So supposedly by the end of the year, and it doesn't feel like there are that many games coming out this year. So nice to actually have something to look forward to. But yeah, that sounds cool. I'd like to see that footage once you guys get it put together.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got on the docket. I guess only other thing I've got is I've been playing a game called Mortal Shell, which is about as unapologetically Dark Souls as I have seen in a while.
Okay.
Like it's not even like Dark Souls and, where it's like, it's like the Surge is like Dark Souls and sci-fi or whatever. This is just like aesthetically, like art design, atmosphere, like just, gritty medieval. It's that, but like I think they seem to make up for it with some new ideas. It's like it's full on, light and heavy attacks on the shoulder buttons and lock on and dodge and all that stuff. But they've got some interesting ideas in there. Like you can't block. Instead, you have an ability called Harden where you basically turn yourself to stone.
You're a metapod.
And sure. And it's on a cooldown. It's on like 5-6 second cooldown or something, so you can't spam it, but you can use it pretty strategically. But the interesting thing about it is you can pop it like literally at a split second in the middle of an action. So you can interrupt your own attack with it. So it gives you this kind of cool timing window of like, I'm going to go in for an attack. Oh shit, they're also winding up for an attack. I can pop my Harden. They will continue their attack while I will pause mine. And then when they hit me, it pops me out of the Harden so you don't take any damage. And then you follow through with the attack that you started. Does that make sense? Like it's like you're pausing your own action basically to kind of like you can set up some kind of cool combos where you avoid damage and stuff like that.
It's like the good old ninja log trick, right? Instead of getting hit, they hit the log.
I just barely get that reference. Sure.
Okay. Yeah. We're halfway there.
Okay. That stuff seems cool. Like it does. Like I have found that to kind of trivialize some of the combat with the basic enemies because I'll run in with my heavy and just harden in the middle of the heavy and wait for them to hit me, which pops me out of it, and I just hit them I get a free heavy hit before the combat basically even starts, and then I just finish them off. Like you can get kind of creative with it.
Does it seem like it has that Dark Souls weapon variability? Like that's a big thing that's Souls people like more than like Sekiro games.
Yeah, I'm only a couple hours into it, but that's the other weird system in this game is like your actual character is this like wraith, like a shade kind of dude. He's just this insubstantial like dead spirit guy, and the mortal shells of the title are basically like corpses you find around the world. Looking at the menu, it looks like there's 4 of them. I've only got the first one right now, but it's literally the first mortal shell is literally just a dead guy in a suit of armor, and so you go up and possess him, and then you've got his armor and sword. Basically, it's deep down it's like a class-based thing.
Okay.
But the motif is you're possessing different like fallen warriors in the world or whatever. But the game has this whole concept of familiarity or like knowledge around consumable items, around the shells that you're possessing. Basically, like anytime you pick up an item for the first time, it doesn't say what it does. It says like use this item to find out what it does, and then every item has like an experience bar on it, and the more you use it, the more it fills up. That it's a familiarity bar basically. So it's like once you become fully knowledgeable about this item, like you will learn more about it, or it will do something different, like that kind of thing. So like the basic heal item that I found. Also, the heal items are largely mushrooms, like fungus, and they continue to grow. So it's like you find one and you pick it, and then a little like radial progress bar starts where you picked it, and like that ticks down, and then when it finishes ticking down, another mushroom will grow, so you can come pick another one.
Cool.
But it's kind of cool. Like the more you use items, the more you fill up that bar, and so like I filled up the familiarity bar on that mushroom, and that made it work faster. Like the heal effect goes like twice as fast once you fill that.
That's
bar.
A really good sentence.
Yes. Anyway, that concept of knowledge applies to the shells as well. So like, I've got this suit of armor dude that I'm possessing, but I can't unlock any of his like higher level stuff because it's like you need to discover the name of this shell before you can do that stuff. So there's like this kind of iterative process of learning more about the stuff you're using before you can actually access the stuff about it. So like it's not like weapons are just dropping like in Dark Souls and you're mixing and matching armor and weapons on just a character sheet or whatever. It's much more tied to like the shells you're possessing and stuff like that. So it seems cool. I'm not 100% sold on the way it plays yet. Just the basic feel of the combat is not quite up to Dark Souls level of fidelity, I don't think, but
how many purely fuck you moments have you experienced? Because
any really, honestly. Yeah,
interesting.
Well, the first boss that I've gotten to, I tried 3 or 4 times to beat it, and I said fuck you to that boss and did something else, if
Fair.
that counts. Chat is giving me tips here that need to read. off
Ignore
the
them
air.
all.
No,
This
I
is
need
maybe
to,
not the best time, chat.
no.
Maybe not the best time.
I actually need to read those because like it does not explain itself even more than Dark Souls. I would say like it is really really obtuse about communicating information about like I barely understand what the bonfire equivalent of this game is at this point. Like
Jeez.
like it like even the basics of like how to save and where the checkpoints are and how to spend your currency to upgrade and stuff like that are even less clear than Dark Souls. Like, you know, I'm sure I'll get there, but it's like it seems like it's an intentionally obtuse. Like it really wants you to try to dig to get that familiarity up and figure that stuff out. But it's only $30, so it's, you know, not full price, and it's got some interesting ideas. Oh yes, chat reminds me there is a loot that you pick up early on. Which kind of seems like it's there to train you on the familiarity thing because you can just keep playing the loot over and over to skill up, and every time you play it, your playing gets better. Like every pip that goes up on the familiarity bar, like you start out just like this discordant mess, like you don't know what you're doing on the loot, and every time you fill another pip on that bar, like the melody gets a little cleaner. Which
interesting.
Is kind of a neat little trick, but also the loot is the loot is a physics object. You know, like in Dark Souls when you run over corpses, they just sort of physicsy. Yes, flail around.
Ragdoll and stuff, yeah.
The loot is like that, and every time you run over it, it just sounds like somebody's taking a loot and like bashing it on a rock in a really like awful way, you know, just the awful mix of notes. Like you kind of need to hear it to understand what I'm talking about.
Weirdly enough, I can actually picture that sound effect exactly.
It's just like
the
imagine-
exact sound it makes.
Imagine, somebody just bashing on the strings of a lute in a really ridiculous way.
I can hear the resonance. I can hear the wood breaking. It's there.
It's
perfect.
and you can just keep running back and forth over it and just creating this cacophony. It is pretty ridiculous. It's pretty good stuff, but it's got some neat ideas. I'm gonna keep going with it and see where it goes. And, try to plumb some of those secrets, but we'll have a quick look later in the week once I get a little bit more of a feel for it. So yeah, I think that's it for games for me. If y'all got anything else,
Nope.
Nope.
A
I
trio-
did stay up till
head
4
shaking.
a.m. playing Rogue Legacy one time last week.
Okay.
It's still happening.
All right, okay, that's good to know. Cool.
Or not Rogue Legacy, sorry, Risk of Rain 2.
Oh.
Okay.
That game's all right. That
Yeah.
game's still good.
Yeah.
It is. I like Risk of Rain 2 a lot. I think there is just a part of me that I can't let go of that is mad that it is not Risk of Rain 1 style. Like
you were the person that I was wondering about last week. Like I just in the back of my mind, I was like, there's got to be somebody out there that's super pissed off that this is not a 2D game.
Pissed off is not the right word. Disappointed, yes, but also not upset about it because Risk of Rain 2 is really good. Like there's no part of me that dislikes that game. It's just a sadness for the absence of another one of that first game because I really, really like that first game. That's all.
That. Yeah. That first game had a more approachability to it, I think. It seemed like an easier game to be like, I'm going to play a little Risk of Rain 1, not I'm going to dedicate the next several hours of my life to Risk of Rain 2.
I vibed with it.
Yeah.
Does the first one not have runs that are as long? I know you were saying this new one gets up to like what, an hour and a half for a run sometimes.
I think the runs. I'm trying to remember what the longest run I had in Risk of Rain 1 was, and I feel like it's probably a little less than that, but not necessarily like a huge amount of time. I want to say like an hour, probably.
I think my longest 2 run was 2 hours 15.
Wow.
And that was us just keeping the loops going and saying we're never going to go to the boss. Let's just see how insane this gets. And then you would just spawn into the level, and there would be like 50 elite monsters just right there when you spawn.
So there's no ceiling on that escalation. That's cool.
Yeah, it seems to just. I remember like when I played in beta, and it eventually just crashed because there was too much shit going on.
Yeah, as a you have too many things going on. There is too much math simulator. Like those games are fantastic. I love the level of stupidity you can engage with.
Like I was so into the pitch that Ben gave, I almost went out and picked up the first one last week. But the main thing that stopped me was worrying that like nobody's playing it anymore. Like it'd probably be hard to pick up games because everybody's probably moved on to 2.
Honestly, it's a good solo game too. Like I had more fun playing it in co-op, but like I played a lot of Risk of Rain 1 by myself, and I was totally fine with it.
Does it have matchmaking, the first one? Can you just like search
Had
games?
IP matchmaking only.
Yeah.
Hamachi, right? Yeah.
I remember the matchmaking not being great because I remember Patrick and I tried to do a few sessions and it took some doing to make it work.
Huh. Okay. I should check out one of those games. Those sound very cool.
Yeah,
Gotta
check
lim-
out 2. 2's good. I want to emphasize 2 is very good.
Gotta limber up the roguelike muscles again before Spelunky comes out.
I am truly becoming fully a prog rock guy solely because of the music in this game and like listening to it on YouTube and then listening to the recommended stuff after, and I am falling down that hole.
I grabbed the soundtrack on the basis of you guys' recommendation from Steam along with the game last week. I've got it in my music library, but
It's hot.
It's real good.
All right, so what prog bands are you now? Do you rep now?
It's still all I'm too scared to come out in a camp yet because I kind of gotta like put my feelers out there.
It's a very contentious scene, man.
Yeah. I have liked King Crimson before this as a sort of side thing, but never really just dipping my toes in. I gotta.
Okay. All right, I get it.
Does Tool count as prog, or is that kind of straddling the line?
It's kind of like I would call it straddling like the prog metal
that's
divider.
Kind of, yeah. A little bit
Like definitely metal, but definitely up its own ass. So, it's. I say this as someone who has loved most Tool albums. They are completely up their own ass. They are so far up there that it is very difficult to find even one of them.
That's what distinguishes it from the previous form. Back in the 80s, it was metal up your ass, and now it's metal up its own ass. Yes.
What if we just crawled up our own ass for a while and just see how many notes fall out?
Yeah. Is Dream Theater still a thing?
Yes, they are. I don't know if they put out a record recently, but I want to say they reunited with their old drummer recently. So, yeah, which is only important to me, but that's fine.
All right. It's exciting development. And Ben's musical evolution. All right. That's going to do it for games. Let's take a quick break here and go listen to some Dream Theater, and then we'll be back in like 30 minutes after the first track is over. See you in a minute. We're back, and I regret to inform you that from prog rock to jazz, the bitter, acrimonious fight over jazz has broken out in the chat.
Oh no.
Oh no. Boy!
What's the group?
Is it a free form fight?
The group, anything goes, man. It's about the punches that don't land. Any feelings on jazz among the assembled posse?
Only that it's not worth fighting over. I love jazz is fine, but there's no need to argue about it. It's just jazz, man. It's just jazz. Like
cool, man.
There's nothing about jazz that requires acrimony. Like just let jazz be, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do what you feel.
Yeah.
That's the best advice we can give. I guess what I feel right now is that we should get into some news.
Okay.
Let's do it.
It feels right.
Yeah. We had some news, and then this morning happened, and then some more news joined the fray. And I'm going to start with that news first, because Bloomberg ran a headline. Oh, I guess this was late last night, actually. I think it's coming out of Japan. Here's the headline. Nintendo plans upgraded Switch console and major games for 2021.
Whoa!
Which, granted, I feel like we've probably said about 5 times on this podcast over the last couple of years.
At least.
Switch 2.
Yeah, but this sounds pretty definitive. This definitely sounds like by far the most firm version of this story that they've reported to date. Like, this basically says this is happening. They are planning it for next year. Not, last couple times this came around, it was like, they're thinking about it. Nobody's quite sure inside the company what it would look like or how they would roll it out, but this sounds pretty definitive.
And there's some talk in there about like potential specs for what that thing might look like, right?
The lead says Nintendo plans to debut an upgraded model of its Switch console next year, along with a lineup of new games, ceding 2020's holiday spotlight to Sony and Microsoft. Which, when you realize that we're like a week from September and Nintendo kind of doesn't have anything else on the docket for the rest of the year.
No.
There were those.
But here's the thing. If there was ever a holiday season to seed, wouldn't this be the one?
I mean,
like,
it's probably they're not going to go toe to toe with these new boxes for sure.
yeah, and it's like right now it does feel like their first party development has hit a point where like they must be reloading for something because they have not even really announced much beyond like, hey, Metroid Prime 4 still over here somewhere, hanging out.
Yeah.
Mario Masters, maybe
So
eventually.
the Mario-
That Breath of the Wild 2, you'll see that eventually.
Right. So like I have to assume Breath of the Wild or whatever that sequel ends up being called is a Switch 2 game at this point, right? Or it's something they roll out alongside a new refresh of the Switch.
Yeah.
That's not
I can imagine that being cross console.
Oh, I'm sure. I have to imagine that this isn't, because this doesn't sound like a new console.
No,
This sounds like the platform, but it is a more powerful version of it.
The language
And
in
Breath of the Wild
story-
1 was even on the Wii U.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. The language in the story says the specifications of the new machine have yet to be finalized, though the Kyoto-based company has looked into including more computing power and 4K high-definition graphics.
Okay, so inform me, because I don't know much about this. What is the current state of 4K ready screens that could possibly be portable?
I have to assume this means it would output in 4K potentially on TVs, but not.
Okay.
I would be shocked if it was more than like a 1080p screen on a new handheld.
Okay.
Is my guess of how they would approach that. Because there are a lot of ways that they can upscale like a 1080p image to 4K and make it look good on
Right.
TV without actually running at 4K. Anyway, I have to assume, like look at every version of the DS, right? Like there were 2 to 3 versions of each DS, right? And they all ran the same games. Like I can't imagine in any way this is a new Switch that somehow cuts off the old Switch. Like games continue coming out for both. They run on both, right?
It's probably closer to like the PS4 Pro and the 1S.
I totally like what I'm getting at is like it's not like they're going to just suddenly say, hey, this Breath of the Wild sequel only runs on this new Switch. Like all the tens of millions of old Switches are shit out of luck or something like that.
I mean, I think if you're going to take anything away from this possibility, it's that they think the Switch has a long lifespan as a platform.
Yeah.
Like 4 years after the initial hardware launch and 2 years after the light, it's like, yeah, they know they have a library of games that will continue to sell well as long as they keep putting out their own stuff on there. They don't need to engage in the same fight that Microsoft and Sony are having right now because they've established their fiefdom. They know what they're doing. They know that they can stretch this out as long as they want, really.
They're still counting their Animal Crossing money. Like I feel like they're still proven like this year with new games that they're like, okay, there is still obviously this huge supply or this huge demand for this. And I'm sure COVID helped with that in a way, but like truly the sales figures for Animal Crossing are insane.
Isn't it
that
the
alone?
Highest, it's the highest selling Switch game, right?
Yes.
I believe it is.
Mm-hmm.
And in a pretty short amount of time.
Yeah, and I mean, like the Switch, both in concept and in terms of the guts of it, it's basically a tablet with controllers on the sides, right?
Right.
Sure.
That is what that thing is, and in that space, like the hardware is just constantly iterated on. Like there are 8 generations of iPad that can all run the same game. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know if and when they would ever cut this product line off, right? Like they just continue to, for years to come, just kind of slowly upgrade it.
Any pie in the sky like stuff you would really want in a follow up to the Switch? Because the only thing I thought of right out the gate was like better battery life.
Yeah, that's a big one, obviously.
Support for like Bluetooth audio.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that one's tricky because there's a lot of bad latency in standard Bluetooth audio codecs. Like there are like custom ones you can use, but I don't know if Nintendo's like not a very forward-looking company in terms of tech. Unfortunately, so I don't know if they would adopt any of that stuff. But yes, that wireless headphones of some kind would be huge for me.
Yeah,
for sure. I don't know, like feature-wise, I feel like that thing's pretty great already. I can't think of a lot of actual features. Yeah, it's like Ben said. It's like better battery life and like better frame rates and better resolution. Just like better stuff.
No
like,
controller drift.
Yes, fixed fucking joysticks that don't.
Never again.
Yes.
I feel like my wishes for that platform and that console have less to do with like hardware upgrades and more like just like system feature, like, game feature stuff. Like I really want them to keep building out that classic games library because right now it still feels very thin. I want their online stuff to just get better,
Yeah.
just be better than it is. And it would be nice if by the time this thing comes out, they have figured out a few of those things. But, as far as the hardware goes, 4K thing is nice and I will totally buy this. But like, I also imagine the number of people who are out there desperately looking for a 4K output switch is not that high considering.
Yeah. I don't have a 4K TV. I mean, I know I've heard Jeff on multiple occasions say that the Switch does not look great on his 4K TV, the way that it upscales the image. So I guess
but it's not flawless.
You're totally right, though. Like, that is not a mass market concern. That's not something that most people.
I wonder
care about.
if they kind of go down the path of like if they have like kind of the split of like there will be the Switch 2, which is your 4K iteration on the basic Switch, and then like maybe another 2 years after that we get a new Switch Lite, which is like
100%,
way better battery and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's actually just the Switch.
Yeah,
they just put out the original Switch as the new Switch Lite.
I do hope they do a much better job than they have traditionally in supporting the previous version of the hardware, though, because like when you had the new 3DS come out, there almost immediately were games that ran like complete garbage on the old 3DS, and like that sucks ass. Like Hyrule Warriors was one of those where like it was like almost unplayable on the old hardware, and I hope they restrain themselves and like keep that installed base in mind better than they have in the past on some of that stuff. But like it makes you wonder if like their super thin release slate is because they're now holding most everything back for this.
I mean, I'm sure COVID definitely impacted that stuff as well. Like there was all those rumors about like the Mario anniversary stuff coming at the end of the year, and they haven't even like alluded to that stuff much.
That is the one wild card to me, because that stuff is all based on an anniversary, wasn't it? Like,
it's like this is
35th. I think so. Mario's, so like if that's around anniversary timing, that maybe needs to happen.
Yeah, and I mean that is a thing you could announce during a direct in September and say like it's coming in November and be fine.
You're totally right. Actually, I just forgot that they did exactly that with Paper Mario. Right? That was like what was that, like 6 weeks from announcement to release for that game or something like that?
Yeah, and that's a hell of a game. So it leaves me hopeful.
What if
was it actually that short? Wow, that's wild.
Maybe 2 months at the outside, but it was very short. And I love when people do that. Like I just spare me these protracted marketing cycles. Just tell me about it and then give me it. Do you think?
Or they get hit by other people get hit by devastating leaks, and it's just like, oh, this is what this studio is doing forever.
Mm-hmm.
Or like NetherRealms, I feel like is one of those that is just like, oh well, here's the new round of NetherRealm leaks or Capcom or whatever.
Yeah. Do you think that they could announce that Mario stuff and release it on the same day?
They could. I don't think they would.
Do you think they could full on Nintendo Direct, just like here's all this, there's remastered Mario 64. By the way, it's out now.
Because they did that with like Tetris 99.
Yeah.
They
did that with that Kirby game.
They do it on occasion. They just would never have. They've never done it with something that big and momentous before. But
I bet there's still at least a 6-week lead time on that, if not longer.
Yeah, there's nothing I love more than the simultaneous announced release in terms of like. Don't consider myself a hype beast by any means or whatever the fuck people say these days, but that is a fun way to get people excited. It's just like, hey, here's this insanely cool thing we made, and here it is right now.
It's fun because we don't really have like the monoculture anymore, but like that's the closest we get to like, oh my god, everyone's talking about this for the next 48 hours. It's nice.
Totally. Let's see here. Over the weekend, the DC FANDOME took place, and we got some new video games out of it.
I was pretty impressed by what came out of the FANDOME.
Yeah.
FANDOME lived up to expectations.
Minus the shitty Snyder cut trailer. Everything else was cool.
I didn't even look at that.
I still haven't seen Batman vs Superman.
I immediately saw the infamous still from that trailer ending up on like 1998 graphics card boxes and like Nintendo 64 cover art and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm
just genuinely impressed that this whole thing, speaking of crawling up your own ass, this whole thing is just such a fucking circle jerk that like they literally used Hallelujah in the trailer. Like, dude, you're doing karaoke of yourself.
Yes.
Did I understand correctly that cut is like 4 hours long?
Yes. It's supposed to be 4 hours, at least 4 hours long.
Why?
Wow.
Because he had that much footage, guys.
It's Justice League. It's Justice League.
Okay.
I don't even like DC that much, and
No more movies longer than 2 hours. If your movie is longer than 2 hours, it is now banned.
Yes.
Sorry.
You have to pay me an additional $5 for every minute it goes over 2 hours.
Somebody-
Bill and
That's
Ted
the
3
deal.
is 75 minutes, and I'm very excited for that.
Somebody has
And
to.
you know what? I bet that is going to be a killer 75 minutes.
Very tight 75 minutes.
Somebody has to go back in time and take out Peter Jackson. This trend has ruined movie making.
let's just include an intermission, and it might be okay.
Well, what if I told you could kill the Justice League?
Oh, thank God.
Well,
They kill the Snyder Cut while I'm at it.
So, yeah, the Rocksteady, I mean, both of these games basically have leaked all over the place, and it's not a huge surprise what these are, but the Rocksteady game that they've been working on for like 5 years finally got announced. It is Suicide Squad to kill the Justice League. They put out a cinematic trailer that doesn't really show what the game is like so much, other than
I did like that trailer though. It had some charm to it.
a little bit. I using Bombs Over Baghdad in a video game trailer in 2020 is a choice for sure.
And it wasn't like a slowed down cover of it.
No.
They just used the
I do
song.
appreciate that.
Here's the song. Evil Superman. I don't know if I don't know shit about DC outside of Batman. I don't know what the significance of Evil Superman is, but
well, he didn't look like Bizarro Superman, so he's probably has his mind infected
He's
by
got the purple kryptonite.
Brainiac, I believe.
Oh, Brainiac.
Yeah.
oh, that
Oh,
brain.
no, that guy's a motherfucker.
See, I think this is a huge bummer because I think that if you're going to do this bit where you're taking the Suicide Squad and you're pitting them against the Justice League and you're take out the Justice League, like, don't turn this into, oh, it's evil Superman, so that's why this is happening. Like, no, just say, okay, yeah, no, the ragtag crew of anti-hero bad guys are just going to kill the Justice League. Like, that's the game. Like, just go all the way with it. Say, like, okay, what happens if they actually do that? What happens if they just go out and kill the Justice League? What do? Where does the DC universe go from there? I would actually, that's an interesting idea. Going after evil Superman is just so hack. That shit is so hack.
I agree. I agree, and I bet it like 100% was a DC mandate that they couldn't kill.
I'm
real
sure.
Superman.
I'm sure. That's the thing. I know there's license limitations that you are inevitably dealing with this
License
stuff, but
holders ruin everything. They don't let you bust up their cars. They don't let you kill Superman. What the fuck? Yeah.
That being said, Samoa Joe is a voice in the game, and that's
Okay.
pretty
That's
neat.
pretty great.
Okay.
Who's he voicing?
King Shark.
I was
Okay.
just about to say, like, there's a Shark Man on that squad.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
sure.
They maybe missed out by not getting Ron Funches for that, but I think just Moa Joe is also a very good choice for that.
That is a 2022 game. That year sounds made up to me.
I watched the trailer with my partner, and then when they dropped the 2022 date at the end, she just looked at me and asked, like, why would they even put this out? She was just incredulous, like, why even bother? And then I had to explain the leaks coming out and Rocksteady being pressured.
It is a bold move to assume we are still going to have video games in 2022.
Yeah.
I respect the moxie. I respect the confidence, but
Or
man, I don't know.
Or still be using the Gregorian calendar at that point. I don't know.
I know.
The state of the world is going to be at that point. Anyway, it is a full-on next-gen game. No PS4, Xbox One X versions, PS5 and Series X only, and PC. They describe it as an action-adventure shooter with 1 to 4 player co-op. So
Okay.
I kind of all this time just assumed it would be another Arkham Asylum-ish type game, but no. More of a shooter multiplayer kind of thing. Says you'll be able to switch between characters if you're playing by yourself. You can take over AI back and forth. So I don't know. I guess that sounds different, at least.
Yeah.
All 4 of those members that they have could play very radically differently than each other. They have like Harley Quinn, King Shark, Captain Boomerang, and
Deadshot.
Have they said if there will be other characters, or is it just those 4?
I think it's just going to be those 4.
I imagine they do an Avengers style thing where they all have their core 4 and then maybe slowly roll in some other ones. Because like the new Suicide Squad movie has like 14 members of the squad or whatever.
Yeah, Pete Davidson and John Cena.
God.
That little
That's
snippet.
the one DC thing I'm excited for. In a who could have predicted way.
It's the second most exciting John Cena related thing for me, though, because Fast 9 is still coming out next year, and I'm really looking forward to figuring out how they fucking try and ram that square peg into a round hole, because, boy, John Cena as menacing villain is one of the most hilarious ideas I can think of.
Yeah. There has been some reporting around Rocksteady and some internal issues they've had around sexual harassment over the last couple 3 years. It sounds like the majority of this stuff came to a head in 2018. And it's an interesting, it's kind of a confusing situation because like most people involved seem to say that it was dealt with internally at the time. But then some of the stuff has been made public recently, but then the studio put out a statement saying that some of the people who made the initial allegations did not want it made public. So it's like kind of hard to figure out how to approach this stuff.
Yeah, it's weird. And I will say, I'll just say for my part that going out there and putting that on your official Twitter account, like the letter from the signees saying like, hey, we didn't want this to go public as a PR move is a strange one.
Yes, you have to take it with a grain of salt coming from kind of faceless studio management, I think. But there does seem to be some indication that they have been working internally to try to address this stuff. So yeah. The other game is Gotham Knights, which is from the Warner Brothers Montreal studio, I believe.
Yes.
Which also is a 4-player game?
It's a 2-player game.
Oh, is it 2-player only? Does it top out?
It's 2-player.
Okay.
Yes. It's, what is it, Nightwing and Batgirl?
Yes, Robin.
With also Robin and Red Hood.
Red Hood.
Okay.
I don't know. What do y'all think of that?
I'm kind of excited. It looks really good. It's been rumored for a while now that the Court of Owls would be the villains in it. I like one of the features they're lauding is that Batman is dead.
And I'm sure he'll remain dead the entire game, and there will be no Batman at all, just like when the Joker was dead and he stayed dead forever.
Yep.
Oh, but what if they do? What if they do let him just be dead in that game? Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that really be something?
That would give the Suicide Squad one less Justice League member to kill.
Exactly.
There you
go. They can focus on Cyborg.
Oh, poor Cyborg.
I know. I feel bad for Cyborg.
Booyah.
But yeah, like I watched that gameplay demo, and I will say, as someone who did not like Batman Origins very much at all, that actually looked like a lot of fun. And also as someone who has not reacted to the recent, all the enemies have numbers, and here's your epic gear-ification of superhero games recently. That game still looked pretty fun from the demo they showed.
It's full on that, isn't it? There are totally damaged numbers, and did they say loot? Like, is that actually?
I didn't see much about the loot, but there's definitely like enemy levels and numbers.
Do you know if this gameplay demo is edited or if this is just straight footage? Because there's at least one point in here where it's like two characters are kind of walking side by side, and then the screen sort of dynamically splits to show what they're doing separately. Is that? Did you get a sense if that's actually part of the game, or is that just like?
I want to say that's edited.
That's that's kind of what
probably edited.
That's what I assumed. Yeah, I'll give it to both of these games are not just more like Batman Arkham with different characters subbed in, which is kind of all I expected. So
yeah, Red Hood just straight up shoots people.
Yeah. Dude's got guns.
Yeah.
Do you think these are service games?
Brad, you know they're service games.
They're all service games now, man.
Before they were fan service games. Now they're just service games.
If it's got,
we're all service games down here, man.
If it's got multiplayer and multiple characters and a loot, it's probably got a service attached to it.
We've got a battle pass.
All right, hang on. Let me just write this down as a possible episode title. Would I just to get the point across? You would say like bat-TLE pass, right? Is that the way to?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And then parentheses like a battle pass, but with bat for Batman.
All right. Good. Got that out of the way. Just a little housekeeping there. Okay. Yeah, I think that was pretty much the extent of the video game stuff at the FANDOME for this year. The kind of big Epic versus Apple legal dust-up stuff continues.
Oh boy.
There's been some kind of shots fired between both parties. But the first hearing took place yesterday around this stuff in court. And the initial results are kind of split. the court prevented Apple from basically revoking Epic's whole developer account, which would be kind of shut down all of their access to support the Unreal Engine on Apple platforms, which is like a pretty drastic move.
Yeah.
That affects an awful lot of parties, and the court seemed to think that that was uncalled for, so they have instituted a temporary restraining order to prevent Apple from doing that. But they did side with Apple on removing Fortnite from the App Store. So as of now, that is not going to change. The court finds that with respect to Epic Games' motion as to its games, including Fortnite, Epic Games has not yet demonstrated irreparable harm. The current predicament appears of its own making.
That's accurate.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that Epic, quote, strategically chose to breach its agreements with Apple.
The most strategically.
So,
it's the most strategic breach I've maybe seen from a company in a good long while.
Yes. So as of right now, I believe, at least for the next month, because I believe the next hearing is September 28th, it seems like the Fortnite situation is not going to change. So if you've got Fortnite installed on your phone, you better get to eBay while you can.
Well, I look forward to whatever YouTube teen decides to live stream that one too, because that was how I caught a whiff of that hearing, and boy, that YouTube chat was having a grand old time during that.
Weren't you able to just like join the Zoom call or something if you could get a slot? Isn't that how
So
that was
yeah,
done?
it was a limited number of people could be in there. You were not allowed to stream it, but people did.
Yeah.
And it was definitely up on YouTube for a little while. I was watching it, and the chat was going wild for what was probably the first legal hearing a lot of those people had ever seen before.
Yeah. God, the future is so weird.
Like
It
watching
really is.
Twitch chat talk over Parliament, which is another favorite of
Oh.
mine.
Yep.
Yeah, I bet that's a barrel of laughs. I think. Let's see. I think that's the long and the short of it. There's the small matter of Microsoft threw its hat in with Epic. They filed. I don't know what the legal implications of this are, but they filed a statement in support of Epic's case, which of course they would, because they are also in the midst of their own issues with Apple's App Store policies over xCloud and stuff like that. So. But
The problem I keep running into with this stuff is that I just don't know that the legal precedent exists for any of these companies to be able to force Apple to do differently.
Yeah.
Like, I keep trying to think of like, what can they point to and be like, well, there's antitrust stuff with Apple, and like there's, I think that there is an accurate point being made here about, the revenue share, but like, I don't know that Epic has the case to be the thing that forces this. I think they picked probably what was the rightest time they could to do it in the middle of this Apple antitrust stuff, but I can't see a scenario where they win this outright. I just can't imagine it.
And even if they did, like, is this precedent going to be applied selectively, or does it apply to any previously closed platform? Because, like, people have pointed out, like, the way the App Store works is not really different in kind from the way that, like, an Xbox or PlayStation or Switch works, right? Like, you can't sell stuff on those platforms without giving the required cut to those platform holders. So,
and I'm pretty sure 30% is the cut in a lot of those other platforms as well.
So, like, does this end up applying to all of those platforms, or like I don't know. None of us are antitrust lawyers here. It may shock you to hear. So, we can't say.
I was
for sure.
one class away. I would have been one, but I just said, you know what? Not into it anymore.
Should have gotten, man. Should just take that bar.
Video games. That's the future.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, that's the state of things for now. The Unreal Engine stuff will continue on Apple platforms, but Fortnite will not until
Fortnite is hosting their hashtag Save Fortnite Cup, a big tournament where the winner will save Fortnite, apparently.
man.
So excited for that one.
Great. I don't know that, like, all of their efforts to curry favor, I feel like just push me further away from what is otherwise like a pretty respectable position on
You
their
think they're
part.
going to make a courthouse in Fortnite?
Oh gosh.
If the judge rules against them, they will become the villain in the next season. There will be some villain-like figure that is an evil judge that comes around.
The implications of allowing angry gamers to enter a courtroom with guns seem a little fraught to me.
Stealing this from the chat, but Courtnite?
Okay, let me write that down as a possible title.
Okay. Only if they find a way to get Harry Anderson and John Larroquette involved.
Man,
A little Night Court humor for all you kids out there.
Very
Big fans
fun.
of the Night Court, I'm
Jan,
sure.
Jan, I regret to inform you that some number of people are way ahead of you on that one. There are
nuts.
there are Courtnite T-shirts for sale.
Oh, wonderful.
So there is the next hearing is on September 28th, but the actual trial, it sounds like, is not going to begin until next year.
That sounds about right.
It says, quoting from this Verge story here, Epic's counsel said they could be prepared within 4 to 6 months to go to trial. Apple suggested a longer discovery period with the trial beginning in 10 months. So it does not seem like this is going to be decided definitively for quite a while. That's where that's at. Microsoft put out some footage of the dashboard on the Xbox Series X, which looks substantially like the dashboard on the current Xbox One.
Yeah, it sure does.
Yeah, like they've given it a design refresh. There seems like a lot more rounded corners and gradients and some stuff like that. I think it looks pretty nice, honestly. Like I think it's
some of that stuff's made it to the Xbox One though, right? Because I think the store layout changed recently.
Yes, they rolled out a new store recently on the Xbox, and I believe that will also be the store for the Series X. Seems like they're trying to unify a lot of their apps across the whole Microsoft kind of ecosystem better, because there's the new Xbox app on Windows. You can get similar apps on your phone, and they're trying to roll this whole design treatment out to all of those to kind of unify the whole thing. But I don't know,
just like they did with the Xbox One.
Yeah, kind of. you like Metro tiles, right?
I think they've learned some lessons since then.
Honestly, like the biggest lesson they seem to have learned, and like the thing they lead with in this Xbox Wire post, is that they're trying to make it faster. They're like straight up quoting speed numbers out there. Let's see. The home screen will load more than 50% faster when you boot your Xbox, and is almost 30% faster to load when you're returning from a game. Furthermore, these improvements use 40% less memory than what was previously required.
Okay.
Memory usage is certainly the thing that video game players.
Here's what it comes down to for me. Even on the One X, sometimes when I boot that thing up, especially if I boot it up fresh and it's not just coming from like a previous suspend state, I sometimes can't even get games to load properly for like a few minutes afterward. Like I got to sit there and hammer on the button, and then it tells you this didn't work for some reason. Wait 60 seconds, try again.
Yeah. Like sometimes when I boot mine, the cursor will not move around the home screen initially.
Yep.
Like I have to wait, and it'll queue up like 3 or 4 button presses, and then they'll all happen at the same time.
Yep, I've had that.
It's just weirdly unresponsive, but they seem to know that. Obviously, the way that they're talking about this, they're trying to streamline it, and of course, that box is going to be wildly faster than the current one, so that's going to help as well. But like the big revelation here is just they didn't make a new dashboard.
Right?
Which I guess is the first time this has really happened.
Oh, I mean, they've only had 3 console generations up to this point, and those consoles were pretty radically different in terms of setup and display.
Yeah, but even across all platforms,
yeah,
pretty much every console in history has launched with a new interface. So for this to just be a continuation of what they got is sort of a break from tradition. But I guess these new boxes are kind of all about continuity with the old boxes, right? So it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's see. Sony's out there with their first PlayStation 5 television ad. I don't know if you watched it or not. It's not really...
It's a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah, it's not really about video games. It's, it's a lady on a green screen fighting giant stone monsters, and, but they do seem to be fixating on like the ways that you sort of like touch and feel the games on the PS5. Also, I'm just going to say this up front. Did you watch the whole commercial?
Yeah.
When they hard cut to the shot of the hardware at the end, when that console pops up full screen at the end of that commercial, I think that was the moment that I decided I hate the way that thing looks.
What?
It just felt like this is such a record scratch moment of like, wait, really? Like, God, that is what that console looks like, right? I don't know. Anyway,
the one interesting quote I saw in this article was from from Dinga Bakaba, the game director for Deathloop, who says, I'm really excited for the adaptive triggers and the haptic feedback, both features that will bring some physicality into the game experiences and give important feedback. Deathloop being a first-person shooter, we do a lot of things to make the weapons feel differently from one another. One I like is blocking the triggers when your weapon jams to give the player an immediate feedback before the animation even plays out, which prompts the player in a physical way that they have to unjam their gun.
So that quote is 100% the reason that I even brought this story up. Like that actually sounds legitimately super cool. Because the vehicle for this trailer on the PlayStation blog is actually this little article where they quote different developers about the ways they're using the features of the DualSense. And that one is the one that, that's totally the one that stood out to me the most, is the death loop thing of, when your gun jams, your straight up trigger is not going to work. And you're like, that's full on useful feedback for a player, right?
Right. Yeah. It makes a gimmick seem, it makes it go from like, oh, this seems like a gimmick to, oh, okay, this is actually giving developers a new tool to play around with.
Yeah, that is a different way for you to process information about the game you're playing than just like, instead of a gun jam icon or watching an animation play out on the screen. Like that's a cool way to communicate that. Some of these quotes are very much just like abstract, like you're gonna feel your game more than ever. But there are a couple other cool examples in here. Brian Horton from Insomniac, working on Spider-Man Miles Morales, mentioned that they're going to use haptics in the controller to give you directional sense of where attacks are coming from. So like if you're getting hit from like the right side of the screen, you'll kind of feel it on the right side of the controller in some ways, which sounds pretty cool. Trying to think, I should have highlighted these. They talked about like the Astrobot, the game that's packed in, or Astro's Playroom that's packed in with the PS5. They're talking about like different haptics in the controllers for running on different types of surfaces, so like metal will feel one way and stone might feel another way. Like that stuff sounds cool. Gran Turismo using it for like ABS brake pressure.
That's about what. That's what it should use it for, probably.
Sure. That's like that's like the example for and Ratchet and Clank was the other one. This is also kind of cool. For instance, the Enforcer is a dual-barreled shotgun type weapon. As you pull the trigger, you'll fire from one barrel, and you can feel resistance about halfway down the trigger. Need a bigger blast to pull the trigger through that resistance point, and then you'll fire both barrels at the same time. So like stuff like that, like there's some actual tactile control stuff there that actually does sound kind of cool.
Do you think this will be an option to turn off for some folks?
I would hope so. It does seem like it might be kind of a personal preference / accessibility thing of like you probably don't want to force people to rely on that stuff. So I would hope they give you some control over that stuff.
I would hope there would be multiple forms of that feedback, like a sound that goes with the physical thing, because I could see it like you just miss because you're not used to it in your hands and something happens. But
what if the sound came out of the controller?
What?
And it sounded like it was coming out of a little fucking, like child's first boombox stereo with a speaker that can only go up to about 4 decibels. And it just sounded like total trash every time.
Okay, but how many pictures of my ears do I have to send in for it to work?
75.
Okay, I could make that happen.
Per ear.
Oh,
yeah.
Fuck.
All right.
Sign us up.
Yes. Yeah, that stuff sounds cool.
It does.
They're making a decent pitch for that stuff.
I'll say this. I would have liked to have heard some of that stuff back when they first said that they are not going to let the PS4 controller just work on PS5 games.
Yes, if they had rolled that out alongside that little tidbit, I think that would have helped sell that a lot better for sure.
Yeah.
Hitman 3 is an Epic exclusive. They have announced.
Permanently?
No, it's a 12-month exclusive, so it'll be on Steam. I didn't realize that game's January.
Think of how many elusive targets you would miss.
Oh God, damn it!
Is it January? Really?
As of right now, in January 2021, you'll be able to play Hitman 3 on PlayStation 5, 4, Xbox Series X, Xbox One, Google Stadia, and PC, where the game will be available exclusively via Epic Game Store for 12 months.
Huh.
So,
I mean, that's exciting, but also wild.
Totally. I don't know why I thought that game was way further out than... Also, January 2021 being that close is just like, I don't even know where we're at this point.
Have they said what the structure of that one's going to be?
Yeah,
yet?
they rolled this out. They actually just sort of included this as a little tidbit at the end of a blog post revealing a location, which is Dartmoor in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
So, they're out there saying like, here's, I think Dubai was the first location. So they're rolling out maps kind of the way they have before. But I mean, are you asking about structure?
Yeah, I'm talking about like,
game?
are they doing it episodic again, or are they just doing the full game
I don't-
like before,
I'm not
like 2?
sure if they've confirmed how they're rolling it out. I think
Okay.
the mission structure, I believe, is the same, but
Okay.
I'm not sure if they've said definitively yet.
Here's that game. It won't matter one way or the other because I liked Hitman 2 just fine, not being episodic. But I just felt like they established a really good idea with that first game about how you could do an episodic game like that and have it stay meaningful for months and months after release.
I've said it before. I preferred that way of rolling it out, and like to Ben's point earlier about lacking a monoculture these days, like it was the kind of thing that would like keep people talking about Hitman for months at a time.
Totally.
Whereas, like 2 came out and I just played through it, and that was kind of it after the first month. Anyway, I'm sure they know what's best for their business.
I'm just glad they get to make another one.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Like I have not been super clear on what the fortunes of that franchise have been lately, and whether they've been great.
I also can't believe I'm excited to see how the story might conclude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said that
Yeah.
numerous times as well. I can't believe I came out of Hitman 2 like super caring about where that story is going.
Yeah.
Granted, playing through the first game only on video with Dan Reichert was not a great way to absorb the rich tapestry of the Hitman fiction in the first one.
I don't know. There's something to be said for it.
we kind of made our own story, let's say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was true emergent storytelling.
And some of it may have become canon, you know?
Yes. Sheikh Zanzibar, may he reign eternal. Anyway, there is footage of some of these locations out there. I guess the biggest point here is that they will let you roll your progress from the previous 2 games into this epic version from Steam. Like that's
great.
That was kind of the thing people were freaking out about, was like, because all those missions from 1 carried over into 2, and you had zillions of unlocks with that stuff, and so they are saying we want to make it a seamless process for our PC players to enjoy Hitman 3 on a different PC platform. So, and continue to enjoy the benefits of our world of assassination.
Hell yeah.
So supposedly you will be able to carry all your stuff over from the Steam version. So
that's good.
Nice that they thought of that for sure. Let's see. A couple more quick stories before we go to break. There has been a mass exodus of employees from Lab Zero, the developer of Skullgirls, and I guess more recently Indivisible.
Yes.
Although this story was much more centered on Skullgirls, I think because the other companies that are sort of affiliated with Lab Zero through Skullgirls have cut ties with that developer.
Yeah, the publisher and the IP holder both.
Yeah, so that was news to me. I didn't know they don't own Skullgirls. I guess that
Me too.
Autumn Games. That's right. I remember Autumn was the publisher of Skullgirls when it came out. I guess I didn't realize that they straight up own the property. So there is every possibility that Skullgirls could go to another developer after this.
There was basically a rough timeline of a few weeks ago, about a month ago, when there was that kind of mass game developer sexual assault claim storm going around. Mike Z, the head of Lab Zero, was there was some stuff out there, but it seemed like, relative to some of the other stories we heard, somewhat tame, and just like screenshots of him being gross with like streamers who said they like his game and stuff like that. Nothing overtly like super over the top. But then a few days ago, we saw a big exodus of employees leaving Lab Zero, citing actually lots of different reasons. This quote here, the former senior animator for Lab Zero, Jonathan Kim, said, "Mike used intimidating and potentially retaliatory tactics to bully the team while refusing responsibility for his actions. He then gave all employees until August 31st to leave if they are unsatisfied, and so here we are now."
Oh, I missed that. Okay, I read the statement from their creative director, Mariel Cartwright. I don't know if I realized that he had straight up like issued an ultimatum though to people. Like, that sounds like just super fucked up. It's like, if you don't like it, just get out.
I guess he was like kind of leading people on that he might leave, and then just fully went into the opposite direction.
Yeah, I guess so. Looking at her statement, it seemed like the type of thing where like she had experienced some gross behavior and assumed it was kind of an isolated thing, and then once everybody started comparing notes and realizing it was much more of a pattern, that it was kind of...
It really just goes to show you, you know, a lot of times there will be loose claims about a person or something, and sometimes they are just that, but sometimes like you have to think, okay, if this is only the stuff that is getting out there, odds are there is some more shit under there that is not getting out. And you see it all the time. I mean, you hear stories and stuff. It's just like you never want to condemn somebody based off of one thing, but then like, you know, people, like you said, people start getting together, start trading stories and stuff, and the full picture starts to form kind of around that.
And he's like a pretty well-known, like, long-term FGC figure, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
and I mean, like lots of people really, really respected his work with Skullgirls. Like it was very much one of the first new indie fighting games out there that really captured people's attention, and it was really well supported. And even like Skullgirls Mobile is a relatively huge hit. Like a lot of people really like that game, and it still gets played a lot. But yeah, and it's a huge bummer that all of this has come out. Oh, it's not a bummer that it has come out. It's a bummer that it has happened. It is good that it is coming out.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say what the future of Skullgirls is, since there are other controlling interests involved besides that developer. So, you could see a situation where maybe people who have left somehow like come back to work on more Skullgirls in the future under a different umbrella.
Yeah, or maybe you can like reform and make a new studio or something, because like there's so many talented people working there. That's always the biggest bummer whenever something like this comes out. Is like, yes, you don't want to support the game anymore, but then there's also, you know, dozens, if not hundreds of people that work on a game and pour their heart and soul into it, and they have to see their creation get cast in this new light. It's a big bummer.
Yeah. All right. Last story. Filing this under the... This goes in the content we need department. It's about Microsoft Flight Simulator. Did you guys see this? Did you see this thing going around?
Oh yeah,
I did.
This horrendous like eldritch spike sticking out of the earth.
220-story fucking monolith.
Yes, there was Flight Simulators generated an awful lot of animated GIFs and a variety of, you know, internet social media material, let's say, over the last week or so. But this is easily my favorite. People discovered this skyscraper in, I think it was like a suburb of Melbourne.
I believe so, yes.
And it's just this like sleepy little suburb looking area with, you know, like 2-3 story houses at most. And there's this like 220 story skyscraper jutting out of the earth halfway to space. And it has come out that is all because somebody made a typo when they were filling in like the Bing Maps data a couple of years ago or whatever, and accidentally entered the number of stories in that building extremely wrong. And yeah,
I love all the stories coming out. I saw one on Reddit that was like some guy found himself sunbathing nude on his house in Flight Sim because it got captured by whatever while he just happened to be up there.
Wow.
There's a lot of stuff going on with that game. It seems like a beautiful mess.
My other favorite one that I've seen is somebody was posting some screenshots from around LA and saying that the AI that generates the terrain in that game apparently has no idea what to do with palm trees. So instead of palm trees, it replaces them with these just jagged looking like black onyx obelisk looking things, just like spikes of black rocks sticking up out of the sidewalk, like all down Santa Monica Boulevard or whatever it is, just like spike, just ugly, nasty looking. Yeah.
My favorite one I saw that was not those is, I think, in London. Maybe it was a different place that had like a major waterway going through the city. The game apparently does not understand the difference between water and hill terrain. Like if those two things are in any way adjacent to one another, it's not really sure what to do with the water there. So there's like a hill of water that slopes upward, like along this waterway. And so it just looks like the water is just like sliding up on this little hill surface before it gets to the sidewalk. And it's bizarre looking, but this is the stuff I cherish about these kinds of games, especially stuff that's like AI generated. They're going to fix all this shit eventually. They're going to make that game
Should they?
look as much like they will, whether they should or not, they will.
Yeah.
But this is the time. This is the most beautiful time to be alive in one of these games, because the things you will discover, the eldritch horrors you will discover, the things that should not be, are going to be amazing.
Yes.
And I adore every one of these that crops up.
Special place in my heart for AI having no idea what to do with bad data.
Yep.
As long as it's not getting people killed.
Exactly.
Yes. This is the good kind
I mean,
of
that's the
weird
most
future.
relatable AI can be. Is like, yeah, I also have trouble with basic data. So
Man, that thing is... Flight simulators turned out to be a thing.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways I didn't expect. Weird product. All right. That is the extent of the news for the week. Let's take one more quick break as I queue up my black screen here so I can fade down to black. We will take a break. We will come back and read some emails. Okay, we're back. Alex, apparently we did not cover all the news for the week.
No, we
breaking
didn't.
news.
There's a very important story I've just discovered here.
Okay. Hit us with the headline.
Devo's Mark Mothersbaugh's COVID-19 recovery complicated by notorious TikTok mansion next door.
Okay.
Is that the TikTok mansion where all the Holocaust TikToks are coming out of?
Oh, what the
Let me tell you right now. I don't know.
Yeah, Brad, it's
That's
bad.
not what I expected. That's not where I thought this was going to go.
It's bad out there, Brad.
What?
Here's what I know. There are more than one TikTok mansion. I don't know where they are. I don't know which ones are which. I don't know nothing about none of that. I just want Mark Mothersbaugh to be okay.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man.
Oh man, is it Papa John's TikTok mansion?
Wait, is that... Did he pivot?
He's on
giving
TikTok
a
now.
tour of his mansion piece by piece on TikTok.
Wait, is he funding TikTok teens or is he on TikTok himself?
No,
Is he
he's
on
the
TikTok.
only TikTok teen in his TikTok
Oh,
mansion.
man. God. I mean, he had to do something, right?
Right.
I forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah, he took some time off from his habit of collecting bootcut jeans and decided to launch a TikTok account.
Oh, man. All right. Well, we're squarely back into the bad future again here. So
We never left.
Wait,
Yeah.
speaking of pizza, can I have 30 seconds?
The floor is yours.
Sure.
Okay, I've talked a lot about frozen pizza is a passion of mine, especially here in COVID. I sang the praises of the UFC pizza quite a bit.
I know what you're talking about. I know what you're about to talk
Oh
about.
yeah, I teased this on a yet to be released project. I bought this, and I would normally do this on the after show, but Jeff isn't here, so we don't have one. This is croissant crust DiGiorno pizza. Because I'm always on the lookout for the hottest new trends in frozen pizza. Pizza is shit. It is the worst frozen pizza I've ever had.
Wow.
I saved a slice just so I
What?
could show off the main problem with this pizza.
Okay.
You see here, okay, this is the croissant crust. It looks like nice layers,
Yeah,
right?
I
This
see some
kinda
nice,
croissant-like.
flaky
Well, here's the
layers in
fucking
there.
problem with this pizza.
Whoa.
Is you just splits apart, and now you've got the base here, which is hard and crunchy, and you've got this soft, malleable DiGiorno top here, and it's impossible to eat. The flavor's okay, honestly, but
Ben, I
eating
gotta
this was a
tell you,
nightmare.
the way you're flipping that other piece around and the toppings are not coming off is
Yeah.
really stressing me out.
Yeah, the pizza flap on that slice is really
Pizza.
concerning, I'm afraid.
Very
It's bad.
distressing.
Is it cold?
Mm.
Ben, you should have made a Ben's lens to document this.
That's right.
God.
Full-time food coverage around here.
Pizza.
Speaking of which, let's read some emails. Bombcast@giantbomb.com is the address. And apparently they're like just 75% food these days. I guess that's what we're doing now.
Yep.
Yeah,
So-
I feel like that's mine, Jeff's fault.
Here we
And
are.
Jan.
Yeah.
There are worse.
Yeah.
There are worse things to be known for, I suppose. First email comes in from Caleb. How many bananas do you think you could eat in one sitting?
3.
3?
Like I could do 3, but I wouldn't be happy about it.
I
They're
think.
they're way more filling than you think.
Yeah, you're right.
I could do 4.
Okay. I'm gonna.
I can do 5.
Okay. Well, hang on. Let's draw a distinction here. I'm gonna say 3 is my number for I could do that and not hate myself. How many do you think you could eat though if there was like money on the line?
Oh.
I
12.
think we need to figure this out, Jan. I think you and I need to to find a way to make this.
What I need to know what the base weight is that we'll accept, because sometimes you get a banana, it's kind of small, like it's like maybe 3/4 of a banana, like a regular size banana.
Sure.
Like what is the minimum size of a banana?
Let's say you're like your average grocery store, like good size banana.
Okay.
I'm googling regulation banana size.
Yeah. You're gonna get some different search results, I think.
Also,
Don't do it on Bing Ben.
Oh no, I binged it.
Oh boy.
Minimum size of 14 centimeter thickness with a grade of 2.7 centimeters.
Okay.
It also depends on how ripe or unripe it is.
I was just gonna say that definitely affects my answer, because if we're talking the super overripe, half brown, mushy type of banana, I'm gonna have to cut it to like 2.
Oh, that's where I go over the top. I can't eat a green banana.
Green's no good. Bananas have about a 6-hour window of opportunity for me. I feel where everything's just nice and yellow, but before it starts to turn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the great banana off. Burgle my bananas too. The banana reckoning is coming.
Ooh.
Okay, but how many banana runts could you eat before you died?
Oh, zero. I can't do runts.
I read a thing that like the way banana runts taste are how bananas used to actually taste when they started making runts, but the banana as we know it is so genetically modified that it tastes different now. Is that
Yes.
That's
Bananas
Yes.
do taste different now than they used to, apparently.
Yes, the banana as it exists is not a product of nature.
We have defied God. and look where we are now.
honestly, I like bananas, but I really think if I got up past like 5 or 6, I would straight up vomit if I continued to eat bananas. Something about too many bananas, I feel like, would just straight up make me sick.
Now I just want to do it.
We're going to.
I gotta stop.
I'm not kidding, Jan.
I gotta stop.
You and
I
I.
just want to convene a banana council and figure it out. I'm gonna. Also, you don't want to irradiate yourself too much if you eat too many
That's
bananas.
the thing. Have too many bananas and you're going to start ticking like a Fallout guy.
Potentially an issue there. Chat mentioned banana pudding, though, which I could definitely put away. Plenty of that.
I made some banana pudding recently with a nice, smash up a bunch of Nella wafers for the top.
That's the stuff. All right, from one yellow food to the next, I suppose. Brad from Wausau, Wisconsin, I guess. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Mustard, yellow or brown?
Fuck brown mustard.
Wait, really?
I like brown mustard.
Oh, yeah, man. If it's a sandwich, it's definitely going brown.
First of all, how dare you, Ben?
Just about any... Yellow mustard, for me, much like ketchup, yellow mustard has like 2 applications. And
hot dog.
Those are hot dog
Sandwich.
and often a hamburger.
Turkey sandwich.
And that's about it. I would much rather go brown mustard on a turkey sandwich.
Totally. Deli mustard all the way on anything that is... I mean, I'll eat deli mustard on a hot dog, too. I ain't too good for it.
Yeah. If that's what's in the house, I have done it in the last month, let's say, when that's the only thing we had. But
mustard is my favorite condiment.
Wow.
I have very strong feelings about mustard and its various applications. And let me tell you, there ain't a damn thing wrong with brown mustard. Brown mustard is good. It is right.
Yeah.
It is the justice in the world.
It's fancy. It's not fancy.
I'm so put off by the flavor of anything horseradish or horseradish adjacent. It's like hits me the same cilantro tinglies of just like it'll ruin an entire dish for me.
Yellow mustard does not?
No, that's way more vinegary.
I guess so.
I don't think I've ever had a bad mustard in my life.
Are there even other kinds besides those 2? Like what other mustards?
Well, I mean,
can
there's
you get?
different preparations, different recipes, different ways of doing the yellow and the brown mustards and what have you. But I'm just saying that I don't think I've ever had a mustard I did not enjoy.
That's fair. I give you that. Ben from Cincinnati. Recently, after making tacos for dinner, I decided I didn't want soft tortillas, and since we didn't have hard shells left, I used corn chips to make myself a taco salad with meat, salsa, sour cream, and shredded cheese. My wife commented that I was indeed not eating taco salad since I didn't have any lettuce. Because of my lack of lettuce, it was really just loaded nachos.
Yeah.
I replied that it is nacho cheese that makes nachos. Who is right? What really is the line between a nacho platter and a taco salad?
Happy wife, happy life. She is right. You are wrong.
Can you hit me with the ingredients one more time?
Happy nachos, happy muchachos. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess that's all. That's what I got. Okay, let me try to pick this apart again. Okay, so he made a plate with tortilla chips, meat, salsa, sour cream, and shredded cheese.
Yeah, that's nachos, but
And he called it taco salad.
no, dude, that's nachos.
I think I got to side with your wife here. If there's no lettuce, it's not a salad. I'm afraid.
You have wandered into Nacho Town, my friend.
Yes, I'm afraid. I don't think the cheese. I don't think the type of cheese even matters. I think those are straight up. Those are straight up nachos.
Like if I got served those at a Mexican restaurant and they called them nachos and it was just like shredded unmelted cheese, I'd be pissed.
Sure,
but I'd be like, well, I guess they're just bad nachos.
You know, I don't want to box us in here, but when I think taco salad, I think the big unified like giant shell
bowl.
like the
shell bowl.
the shell bowl with the salad in it. That's like 8,000 calories.
Or the Wendy's taco salad from back in the day, where it was a just a mishmash of their chili and other things mixed into a salad, and then they just threw some tortilla chips in there to be like, that's taco
South of the border, baby.
Oh God, now I really want one of those taco salads from the taqueria I used to live near until they got closed down for tax evasion.
Yeah.
Let's see. God, we should probably just get through all these food emails right at the top here.
Let's do it.
Thomas from Auckland, New Zealand. Has anyone thought to combine vodka with a jam or jelly so you can get fucked up while eating your toast for breakfast? You might need to add gelatin so that you can maintain an acceptable level of vodka without it being too runny.
Can we email that person back and ask them if they're okay?
Maybe. I do. It does lead one to...
We are a decadent and hubristic species, and we deserve whatever is coming our way.
I guess
is what I say to that.
You know, yeah, I think you're probably right about that. Let's just get breakfast drunk every day from now on.
I did have Skittles infused vodka once. That was pretty good.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Of course, you're still drinking vodka at that point. I mean,
you're just. I'm not trying to turn that into other food.
Are you?
That's just vodka I'm drinking with different flavor.
Can you even be said to be drunk if you are eating your vodka? Do we need a new term?
What other state would you be then?
I don't know.
Hunk.
You're not drinking it.
Yeah, you're getting hunked.
You're not drinking.
You got hunked.
Yeah, you got hunked.
The booze at that point. Okay, here. Let's go to... this is kind of tangential. Forrest from Long Island. Is red the vanilla of colors? I think I can get behind
I'd say
that.
blue.
You think?
No, blue is like the rocky road of...
Yeah.
No,
I think it's red.
Red and blue are the most. Red and blue are chocolate and vanilla. It's just which one
Blue?
is which.
Oh, I think blue is chocolate. I think red is vanilla.
Sure,
I don't know why
would
this
buy
question broke me.
that. Rocky Road is like magenta or something, you know? Because think about.
Yes, I'm with you on that.
I think it's less on how it makes you feel, but more of like okay, if you're designing something, it's like, okay, let's do a red or blue, or like start at the basics and then get weirder with like, I feel like,
There's only like 7 colors, dude. Just pick one.
yeah.
I think much as vanilla is the default flavor, red is the default color.
Is orange just orange?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's go with that.
But wouldn't it be white, since white is the base for a lot of things, like a background kind of and also that's the color I think people associate with vanilla in the shakes?
Too simple.
Yeah,
Wrong.
no, yep.
Too obvious.
Is it because it's an absence of color? Is that why? Is that why it doesn't count?
White
Sorry.
is the bowl in which you eat the ice cream out of.
There you go. All right, we should probably
Why
move
is
on.
this one stressing
And
me out?
black is Neapolitan because it's everything.
Okay, I can't handle this level of confusion. Let's
I'm locked in. I'm like, me and this emailer need to talk because I
The
get
second
you.
tongue is active. The third eye is open.
Whoa. Wow. It's getting deep. Spiritual. All right, here we go. Straightforward question. Sean from Rutland, Massachusetts. For the purposes of simplicity, this question is limited to what you can buy walking down the aisle of the grocery store. What's the worst soda?
Oh, I know the answer to this question, but unfortunately, it's not something you can just go buy down one of the regular aisles because I've experienced this firsthand. It's the ranch soda. It's the worst thing in the world. It's the most unpleasant, disgusting, just absolutely vile fucking thing that has ever been conceived in liquid form.
When did that get made? What?
I
Yeah.
had to shotgun that bacon soda that one time. For
Oh, that's
Extra
right.
Life,
I
and
forgot.
I bet that was also real
I
bad.
forgot.
I think
just
it's the
tasted
same
like
company
liquid
too.
milk.
Somebody-
Yeah, it's the same company. They make these novelty sodas,
That's
and they're all
right.
garbage. But
Somebody-
the ranch one,
Somebody,
Dude, even-
yeah.
even thinking about it right now, is making a little bit of stomach acid just kind of like right there. It is. I wouldn't drink it. I refuse to, because the smell alone was like. Okay, you know that part of the I-5 you drive down on the way to E3, and it's like in like Coalinga, and all
Yep.
the cows are
Oh,
there,
yeah.
and you have to roll up the windows and close all the vents because it smells just absolutely wretched.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay, now amplify that by 5 and liquefy it.
Okay.
It is one of the most heinous things I have ever smelled in my life.
Okay. All right.
But if we're talking just shit you can buy at the regular ass grocery store, Diet Cream soda is almost always garbage.
Ooh, I was gonna say diet root beer, but diet cream soda is. I love cream soda.
Regular cream soda,
With
great.
my
Wait,
grandpa,
specifically
it's really
diet?
good, but,
Do you guys really tell that much of a difference?
Yes,
oh yeah.
Maybe I don't
the
drink
sweetness
enough
is
soda.
all wrong.
Okay. Maybe.
I remember hating Pepsi Twist, which was
Was that-
Pepsi
was
with
that
like
with lemon?
a little bit of lemon.
That
Oh
doesn't
yeah,
sound
that was
so bad.
gnarly.
That doesn't sound so bad, but maybe.
It doesn't sound bad, but then you try it and you're like, this should not have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever happened with Crystal Pepsi? Was that like a limited time thing, or is that still
Yeah.
out there? I wish I should have gotten some of that.
I wish I had Pepsi Blue. Pepsi Blue was dope. They made Pepsi Blue. It was like Pepsi, but it was blue.
Is that it? It
was like
just
the
different-
can.
just different food coloring.
had a berry flavor or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I had to look up these novelty sodas just to see what else was out there in addition to bacon soda and ranch dressing soda.
They have a spicy soda too.
Yeah,
don't
they've got buffalo wing soda, sweet corn soda. Yeah, maybe it could be.
That
okay.
might not be bad.
Might be all right.
I mean, most soda is corn syrup based. So.
Yeah.
Peanut butter and jelly soda, which actually I think has potential.
Yeah.
And this one is the one probably I would actually elect to try, pumpkin pie soda.
Okay.
Which,
I mean, it's just like pumpkin spice flavoring in there, right? Like that's just the thing.
yeah. All right.
Jones Soda always made a Thanksgiving set every year, and they had like mashed potato soda, gravy soda, turkey soda, and pumpkin pie soda, and you could get all four together. And I was never brave enough to do it, but now I wish I had, because it was like Jones makes a fucking killer soda. I love a Jones Green Apple. It's maybe my favorite, but I was always too scared.
It's also just a good name, Jones.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know if these qualify as food emails, but we'll wrap up that section of this part of the podcast with these from Trevor. The mention of eating Vaseline on last week's Bombcast sent me back to high school Spanish class, where my teacher would regularly eat Vicks VapoRub. There was no perceived health benefit, and she simply liked the taste and would do it on request for new students who had heard the story. What's the most bizarre thing you've ever watched someone eat?
First of all, what the fuck are you guys doing on this show?
I
What's
don't
going on
know.
here? What are you
I
guys
don't
getting
know.
into here?
There is zero quality control on the show at this point. Things just happen. We're completely off the rails at this point. If we're at home, there's really only so much you can do.
Vicks VapoRub is the tool in any Filipino mother's arsenal to cure anything.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, just stick it like on your feet,
Yep.
put some socks on, rub it
Got a-
everywhere on you.
Got a
and then-
backache, slather all over
It's-
your back.
It's like a Tussin situation.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I was a child, like a very, very young child, maybe 4 years old or so, I one time I like scraped my knee or something, and my mom put some Neosporin on it, and my cat like was walking by and licked it off, and I was like, oh, cats must love Neosporin. That must be a thing that I've just learned and is true. And so in the middle of the night, I'd wake up and I'd put some Neosporin on a Q-tip and feed it to my cat, and I did that a few times. Eventually, my mom caught me and explained, like, no, the cat was just probably licking it to see what it was, and they don't actually like it. I learned that lesson at 4 years old. Who never told this person you shouldn't eat Vicks VapoRub? This person's a teacher. This person's in charge of our children's future.
Explains
Yeah, look, the American education system has a lot of problems. We know this.
explains a lot, actually.
Anyway, what was the question?
I don't know. What's something weird that you have watched someone eat?
My cat eating Neosporin.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Sure. I'll go with that.
I had a friend who I don't think he made a habit of this, but he would occasionally do it. I think more as like a dare thing, but also it just genuinely didn't bother him, so he enjoyed doing it. Hard dog treats, like milk bone type things. He would occasionally snack down on one of those to prove something to someone. I don't know why or what, but I got the impression those things are not necessarily that bad or bad for you. It's just that they're for dogs. So you can eat them.
Yeah, I bet their teeth were very clean.
I have a friend that eats shrimp whole with the skin on.
Ooh,
because
they're
with a shell.
Ooh.
And the poop tube.
And the poop tube because they're too lazy. You know, we'll go to a place that's like a shrimp boil type of deal. Everyone's sitting there peeling the shrimp, and he just eats it whole.
Oh,
you don't even get to suck the head out if you do that, and which is the most fun part.
I mean,
I have eaten a shrimp whole once to see what it was like, and I did not repeat that experience.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I respect the bravery, but
I feel like you'd tear up your insides.
Yeah, that sounds bad. What does he do with crab?
I don't know. I've never.
The less said, the better.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's just. All right, one more, then we'll move on. Kyle just had to write in after hearing about eating Vaseline. As a child of the 80s, I remember my grandmother, who worked as a nurse, keeping a coffee mug on her counter filled with her favorite cough remedy, Vaseline mixed with honey. I remember my brother and I always sneaking a taste and having the jelly/honey mixture coat our throats. My grandfather took his with a dash of whiskey. Never discount what homespun remedies folks will put on their bodies or in their bodies, even medical professionals.
I really thought for a second there this was going to be like, oh, my grandmother ate cough drops regularly for fun or something, and it would be like normal. Like, okay, fine. Yeah, I don't do that, but I get it. It's like they're candy enough. I get it. Vaseline with honey? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Just because something can be ingested in the human body does not mean that you should do that.
Yeah.
Jackass taught me that.
Yes, I think you're right. Hey, man, Steve-O is still with us. He's still out there.
Inexplicably.
He's clean now,
Somehow.
though.
I know.
So didn't he like duct tape himself to a billboard recently or something? I think that's what I saw.
I just assume he's doing that regularly. Yes.
Yes, he just lives on that billboard now. All right. I think that does it for food emails or things you eat emails.
Food emails.
Yes.
Okay, hear me out here. We make a Ben and I learned how to make a lozenge, and it's filled with Vaseline. I'm not going to elaborate any more on that. I just wanted to get that out of my head.
It's like a gusher, but
It's like a Ricola, but it's Vaseline on the inside.
What?
And let's stop talking about this. Next email, Brad.
Jan, if you're trying to get me off this show, you figured out how to do it. I'm thinking about leaving.
Oh no, with the cowbell.
All right. God, that was okay. All right. I should have not read so many of those. That was terrible.
Here we are now.
Cameron from St. Pete, Florida. That's got to be short for something, right?
What?
St. Pete?
Old St. Pete.
Is that?
There's a lot of Saint Island places
right,
around Florida.
I have to Google now to see if that's short for. Okay, yes, so it has to be St. Petersburg, right? There can't be a separate St. Pete.
Nope, St. Petus.
Can there? Can there?
Could be.
I don't know.
Possibly.
If the guy just went by Pete and said, that's my island, also I'm a saint.
Actually, here is a St. Pete beach. All right, we got to move on. Let me read the email. Which song has the most anime music videos on YouTube? Is there any possible world in which it is not In the End by Linkin Park?
It's 100% in the
I was going to say Numb.
It's a Linkin Park song for sure. Numb is probably in the running. I do think In the End is probably the winner.
Yeah.
One step closer, though. One step closer also probably.
It might be Paper Cut. Paper Cut might be like a solid 3 or 4.
Are those all? Are those
really good alternate offered here by the chat? Bring Me to Life.
Yeah.
Are any of those not Linkin Park songs?
Bring Me to Life is the Evanescence.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah, that's maybe the only non-Linkin Park one I think would challenge for this title.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because like you have to think about when AMVs were in the height of their popularity, which was like, prime Linkin Park time, and
like late 90s, mid-aughts.
Yeah.
There's just a cultural symbiosis there.
So, okay, now what do you think the percentage of those videos is that use the Jay-Z Linkin Park crossover album?
I love Collision Course.
Yeah, it's good. It's actually good. I know.
It is good.
It's actually good.
All right.
I would say like 40%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, not in the running for the title, but like still used semi-frequently. Okay.
Yeah.
Folks are saying Chop Suey or other System of a Down songs. I feel like that also goes up there.
Yeah, I'd say that's a tier below Linkin Park and Evanescence, though.
Yeah.
You know what? I feel like I've seen a lot of Chop Suey. I have not seen other System of Down at all. And used. I mean, I'm sure it's out there. I've just never seen it. So I feel like it's actually just Chop Suey for the most part.
I'm going to YouTube. I'm searching for AMVs, and I'm sorting for highest views. And I will get back to you in a second.
Are those exactly what they sound like? Is it literally just the song cut with a bunch of anime footage?
Yep.
Yes.
And that's it?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, wow. It turns out it's actually Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah.
What is Courtesy Call? 1,000-Foot Crutch Courtesy Call has the #1 AMV with 63 million views. Dragon Ball Super AMV.
That's
I've never even heard
amazing.
of this song.
Is there like
That's pretty amazing because I'm pretty sure 1,000-Foot Crutch is a Christian band. I think they are a Christian
Goku
new metal
is
band.
very Christ-like, so I think it works.
POD has to be up there. Maybe like tier 5 with Satellite.
Ooh.
Animal I Have Become, Centuries, Get Me Out.
Centuries is a real bummer.
Okay.
Are we out of touch? Do we not know what the anime AMV scene is like?
I will say there's a lot of like
We have aged out.
K-pop and Japanese pop rock and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense.
How many are Billie Eilish?
Hold up. Wait, okay. The like 11th 27 million views, 11th most viewed AMV is a Simpsons Juice World All the Girls Are the Same Bart Simpson AMV.
Yeah, we're out of touch. We've lost it. We've lost all touch with what is actually popular in the AMV scene, and I feel shamed. I feel shamed. I feel tired.
I didn't even know that AMV is a term that I could say out loud, and you guys would just know what I was talking about.
By all rights, I shouldn't know because I don't really watch anime, but I like music and I like dumb music cut to dumb shit on YouTube. So that is how I discovered the AMV scene.
Oh, yeah, I believe it. I believe that. All right. A couple more emails here. Jonah from Boston. It seems to me that the Yoshi race has been subjugated in some manner by the various inhabitants of the Mario universe. If this is the case, do you think that Yoshis are used as beasts of burden for purposes such as transportation, agriculture, power generation, and more?
I thought they were talking about the Yoshi race from Super Mario RPG. So
Yeah.
this question is a lot darker than I had anticipated.
Yes. Maybe the Yoshi species is a better way to phrase that.
Well, yeah, because here's the thing. We know Yoshis are ridden around by various Marios and Mario-like figures, but at the same time, they can drive cars. So, like,
God,
what
you're right.
They can play
what
tennis.
level of, like, interpersonal relationship are we actually talking about here? Like, it's not that I think that the dynamic, there isn't a problematic dynamic there potentially, but I get the impression that Yoshi is much more aware of and in partnership with the Marios than outright subjugation. I could be wrong about this.
Yeah,
but that
I
is
think
the
if
initial
anything-
impression.
If anything, the Toads, I feel like, are more of a subservient class than the Yoshis are.
I think you might be right about that.
Do you think Yoshi's kind of occupy that same space where you get like Pluto's a dog and Goofy's kind of like a dog?
It's a funny animal, Jen.
A funny animal? I apologize.
When I read this email, I was 100% on the Yoshis are livestock team. But the more you guys talk about it, like, I'm looking at these pictures and I just realized that Yoshis wear shoes. Like,
Not the ones I look at.
Yoshis,
But are they born with those shoes? That's the thing we don't know. Are they
God.
bio shoes?
Are they flesh shoes?
Oh.
Bio shoes.
All I'm saying is I've never seen a Yoshi without the shoe.
That's true.
Oh, I can send you some links, Alex.
Please don't.
even
Please,
these,
God.
even these,
I don't want to
baby-
get on a list.
Even these baby Yoshis appear to have shoes on. Did we ever settle the shell saddle debate?
When did we have this debate?
Well, if you look at baby, well, that's not always true because, like, if you look at baby Yoshi, he doesn't have a shell saddle.
He does not. Okay. These early Mario World illustrations that I'm looking at sure do make it look like a saddle. But I don't know, man. Are the Yoshis being mistreated?
I think
for
what
sure.
I think what we can agree upon is that the dynamics of the Mushroom Kingdom and all those who dwell within it are completely fucked.
I think you're probably right.
I'm not sure I can elaborate more than that.
The Mushroom Kingdom is a land of contrasts.
Their chief export is maize.
All right, last email. Tom from Iowa. We all know Darmok to be one of the most distinctive episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation about aliens that speak completely in metaphor and reference.
Mm-hmm.
What would be some of the most noteworthy Darmok references in gaming? For example, Daigo and Justin Wong at EVO. Celeste at the Opera. Drew Scanlon, his eyes wide. This is perhaps a...
This is a thinker.
This is a heady topic to put to the group.
Because you have to come up with the phrasing too,
Yeah,
like
right.
how it would be introduced into that language.
This is how well can you think on your feet here?
I'm still thinking about Vaseline.
I was really on I was really on the fence here about whether to even read this one or not.
I had another 45 minutes. I'm sure I could get you some.
Okay, maybe we'll pose this one as a thinker for next week.
Write your hashtag Darmok, but for gaming, and we'll read our favorites next week.
That sounds like a plan.
Yeah. Okay.
It doesn't result in me having to do any extra thinking.
Should we put this one?
That's right. You trick the fans into doing the content for you.
Put
Yeah.
this question to the audience and see what they got. Trying to come up with one. 1 million troops, extreme. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what I got.
The crab, it's massive damage received.
See? Now you're getting it. All right. Let's just throw that one out there and see what we get.
See what the universe brings back to us.
Yes. Yeah.
I watched Darmok not that long ago. Still
Yeah.
a hell of an episode.
Good episode. It's up there. For
Top
sure.
5.
Yeah. I don't know. It reached the level of like one that I will never rewatch again because I already saw it too many times. You know, if I was going to go watch some comfort TV, I would look for something a little more obscure. But
No results for Darmok, but for gaming just yet. But keep them coming, folks. We got our eye on it.
that's right. That's right.
There's a parody Twitter account in there. I just know it.
Yes, there has to be something of those of that nature. All right. Well, on that whiff of an email.
It was a good whiff. Of all the whiffs, that was a
It's a
good
whiff
whiff.
we had fun with.
They put thought into it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a high concept email. I'll give them credit for that. Maybe with a week to think on it, people will come up with something interesting. All right. Bombcast@giantbomb.com. That's it for emails. Alex, thank you for being here.
What, no corrections?
What are those?
You never get anything wrong.
What is...
What kind of show are you people running, man?
Wait, I'm sorry. What is that word? Can you...
Never mind. You know what?
Explain?
Don't worry about it. Just let that one sail over. It's fine.
I'm not sure.
Thank you for
that-
having me.
I'm not sure that I get the kind of concept. It's just foreign to me. I'm sorry. Yes.
I guess when you're never wrong.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
You're telling me. Yeah, thank you for being here on short notice. It's definitely
Happy to do it.
Definitely an interesting week around these parts. So, kind of having to be on our toes a little bit.
Stay safe out there, guys, man. And I know it's things have not necessarily gotten worse over the last couple of days, but you know, fire season ain't over, so by a long shot.
As
So
long as there's no more freak lightning storms, I think we'll hopefully be okay. But that
yeah, I kind of don't want California to just have those now. That seems like a bad idea.
Yeah, it was really cool while it was happening. I was like, ooh, thunder. But now everything.
How very novel. Oh,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So, all right. Our experiments with like group content continue this week. We're just trying to move away from solo streams and toward more stuff with multiple people. So we're going to be trying.
Got a decent number of quick looks.
Yes, games are coming out.
In the pipeline.
It turns out. So yeah, we've got a number of quick looks to do. Some group stream stuff that we're working on. So
We're gonna play some Among Us this
Yeah,
week.
that
Which will
sounds
be
cool.
fun. Yeah.
I enjoy a good social engineering game now and then. So yeah.
We'll be also talking over the Gamescom opening night
Right,
live
yes.
Right.
this Thursday.
I knew I was forgetting something. Yeah, that's what is it? I believe 11 Pacific.
Yes,
Is when
is
that
the start
starts?
time of that. We'll probably be streaming out 15 or so
Yeah,
minutes
a few
prior.
minutes, few minutes ahead of time. I hope. I think they said something like 38 games or something. I want to say that they said it was mostly announced games that they'll be showing more of. Not necessarily a ton of new announcements, but outside of like a Lockhart announcement from Microsoft or something like that, this is like the last big sort of E3 season, like summer trade show thing.
Yeah.
So I hope there's some good stuff in there. We will find out on Thursday.
And then we'll be doing the Beastcast right after that. So
Yes.
stay tuned.
Yes. Long day of streaming for you guys out there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that's it for this podcast then. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll be back with all that stuff later this week and another one of these same time next week. We will see you then. Bye.